Oh, we're live. Okay.
Yep.
And it's notifying me that Dawson's account is not a Premium X user, so we cannot go live on X. That's
welcome to the show.
It's funny because lately X has been the place where you get the most viewers, and now you have to pay to stream on X.
Play.
I think Elon pulled a fast one on everybody.
Sounds about
He's like,
right.
yeah, you like that? You like that? Now you got to pay for it. Actually, this is more telling of what he was doing.
No. You got to tickle their balls a little bit.
That's what he did.
That's what he did. Okay. All right, let's start the show. What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to another episode of the 4Nerds. I'm joined by Phil, also known as Unfiltered, and Ryan, also known as Zever Comics, I guess I would say. Which you can see his comic that he's working on over on Instagram. He posts stills of it daily, so definitely check that out. And also check out Phil over on Multiverse of Color, where he posts, I wouldn't say just a lot of reviews on different projects. So if you go up Multiverse of Color, you're going to see Phil Barker on a lot of different articles. So definitely check that out. And Phil, you've been doing that now for what?
About a month now.
About a month now, yeah.
About a month now, yeah.
So definitely check out Multiverse of Color. And of course, if you want to follow my content, just go to this website right here, right there. There it is, nicotina.net. You'll find out all three of my channels there. Nice. Memberships, communities, all that stuff there. So definitely check out nicotina.net. So guys, today was a day of announcements. We had a really big one that hit the internet like only a few hours ago, which was Marvel Studios brings back the Russos. So the Russos are set to direct both Avengers 5 and Avengers Secret Wars. There's also been talk about how the villain of Avengers 5 is going to change from Kang to a different villain altogether. So let's go ahead and pull up that article, and we'll talk about it. Let's start with Phil. What do you think about the idea of the Russos coming back to direct the next two Avengers films?
I mean, it's not really surprising.
It's not.
I saw this news, and I was like, oh, okay. I mean, they're not going to get Sean Levy. I mean, who else to get for these two movies? I mean, I don't remember which Russo brother it was. One of it might have been Joe. I don't remember. One of them said that they wanted to do Secret Wars somewhere down the line. That would be the only thing that would get them back. So you'd have to wonder if this has been something in the back pocket Kevin Feige's been holding on to. If this has been a long-going thing, but I don't know. I feel like this is also kind of a no-brainer in that these guys did Infinity War and Endgame. So in a way, it's safe, but in the way that it's also like a guaranteed good safe, not a bad or typical or mediocre kind of safe. It just feels like a good kind of safe option because they're very familiar with this universe. They know what they're doing. You can almost guarantee they're probably going to be the ones to maybe wrangle back Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. So
yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it, honestly.
But definitely, like what you're saying about those actors, if they come to them and say, hey, we want you guys to come back for Secret Wars, being the fact that the Russo brothers are going to be directing it, yeah, they're going to be like, yeah, okay, cool. They're familiar with them. They've worked with them before. So I think that definitely lends to, making it a better environment for them to come back to. But, I mean, for me, look, and we kind of talked about it earlier in our own little group chat, but for me, this is good news for the MCU. The MCU, I think, is going to be great. It always has been fine. But I think that this is some good news that I think fans want to hear. And it's a familiar set of names in the Russo brothers who have already come through with some dynamite movies for the MCU. We're talking about Captain America and the Winter Soldier.
Yep.
We're talking about, Infinity War, Endgame. I think they did one more. Didn't they do one more? Civil War. Thank you.
Civil War.
And those were all good movies, all bangers. Although I like Infinity War more than I do Endgame, but the Endgame battle at the end is pretty epic. So I feel like these films are in good hands. Ryan, what do you think about the idea of the Russo brothers doing the next two Avengers films?
Well, not to say anything else, because there's nothing really else to say. they did a good job on the movies they already did,
Mhm.
and I think it's just easy for them to bring them back because they're familiar with the property and they know how to make some good movies, and they make Marvel money. So.
But I think this is different from, like, let's say Star Wars bringing back J.J. Abrams for The Rise of Skywalker. This, to me, feels
that was
like...
out of desperation. This is not out of desperation. This is out of, like, hey, you guys have a great track record, and you guys understand how to do an ensemble cast, a huge ensemble movie.
And this would also coincide with the news that broke a few days ago that the writer attached to Avengers 5 was parting ways with the project, which I thought, oh, wow, like, why is that happening? It's probably because they're bringing in the Russo brothers, and they kind of want to revamp and kind of redo whatever he was working on, perhaps. So, but I think this is a good thing for the MCU. They need, they need strong directors to kind of bring these big ensemble films, back as huge blockbuster hits. The last film that came out in the theaters did not do very well, which was The Marvels. So they really needed to bounce back. On top of that, I read an article that about Deadpool and Wolverine that Hugh Jackman, actually it was an interview, and Hugh Jackman was saying how he called Ryan Reynolds and said, hey, look, I want to do the film. And he was like, wow, it's funny you're calling me right now because we're about to have a meeting because we're going to pitch the idea of another Deadpool film to Disney. And so basically Ryan Reynolds had that in his back pocket when he went to Kevin Feige. He said, oh, yeah, by the way, I also have Hugh Jackman who wants to come back. And so you figure hearing that, he was probably like, oh, my God, yes, let's do it. But I know that one of the requests from Kevin Feige was that he wanted Hugh Jackman in the yellow suit.
Yes.
And there's been rumors that he wears the brown suit as well, the brown and yellow. But I would imagine it's just one suit. But who knows?
The rumor actually is the rumor is that a variant actually wears the brown and yellow. Which, given that I wish I didn't see it, but I did see a bit of a trailer that showcased a couple different Deadpools walking in a certain direction. I'm like, okay, well, if we're gonna get variants of Deadpool, there's a good chance we're probably gonna get variants of Wolverine. There was that one shot of Patch in that very first trailer, so the likelihood of getting Wolverine in a brown and yellow kind of increases more now that I think about it, but time will tell. I actually did sign up because Marvel Studios is doing 2 Hall H presentations. They're holding one on Thursday. That's a celebration of life for Deadpool and Wolverine, which I imagine is probably going to be not only like a Q&A with Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman, but probably a showing of the fucking movie. I'm hoping that's the case, because I signed up for it, and if I get into it, I will be happier than a pig in shit. I will watch the fuck out of that movie with those guys.
That would be awesome.
It would be the fucking sauce. I would love to do that.
Like, just to be there, not only have the Q&A, but then to say, okay, now we're going to show you the fucking movie. Like, whoa! That's awesome. So I hope that happens, because that would be fucking really cool to see the movie, and that would be earlier than the release date, isn't it?
No, it's Thursday. It's literally
it's on the release day.
The day, right? Like the day before. But my Thursday's already packed. I'm going to the 12:45 panel for DC Comics because they're doing I think it's Scott Snyder and Josh Williamson. I know Scott Snyder's for sure going to be there, but they're doing a DC Absolute All-In panel where they're basically laying out their whole plan for the All-In initiative and how they're going to roll that out and what the absolute universe is and all these new versions of Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman are going to be. And essentially my understanding of it, because there's like a 10-minute video of an interview between, well, not really an interview, but it's just like a conversation between Josh Williamson and Scott Snyder talking about the direction that DC is going to be taking in October and where all of this is kind of coming out of. Because I guess they want to continue doing stuff with, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman in the main DC timeline, but then there's this alternate universe that is apparently like a result of something that happens from Darkseid. And they're like those 3 versions right there of Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman are vastly different. Superman's way more alien. Wonder Woman's got like some Final Fantasy sword, and Batman looks like an absolute fucking monster. Like this.
Yeah, he's huge.
Okay, so Scott Snyder is writing Batman. Jason Aaron is writing Superman, and I think Kelly Thompson is writing Wonder Woman. Yeah, Batman looks like an absolute fucking monster in this universe, and I'm here for it. Looks
even
great.
the bat is bigger than
he's got huge
than the fat bat.
Dude,
yeah, look at that.
It's like eyes is bigger than anything.
It's like Kelly Jones and Frank Miller went, let's make a Batman baby together. And that's exactly what this Batman looks like. It looks like the love child of Kelly Jones and Frank Miller put into one. And that Superman symbol looks a hell of a lot like the Man of Steel symbol.
It does. I actually like that symbol.
I like that suit. I like that look for Superman. I actually like that they gave him like long hair. I like it a lot.
Yeah. And then here is Wonder Woman. Looks badass too with the tattoos and everything. Dude, that looks cool.
Like this whole universe is just fucking raw. It honestly kind of reminds me of the Snyderverse.
It kind of has that rawness to it, definitely, and that kind of stylistic. Well, like I like her tattoos. I like how she's a little more edgier as well.
It's more like Atlantean.
Atlantean, there we go. But this is cool though. I like this look with Superman, like the hair and all that. Let me go back to the.
Yeah, he has hair.
He has longer hair.
Yeah.
What's the story going to be about? You said it's a different universe, but something has to do with Darkseid? Phil?
Yeah. Apparently, so something happens at the end of the Absolute Power storyline that, according to Scott Snyder and Joshua Williamson, sets Darkseid on this new quest or something. They were very vague in terms of details, and I don't blame them at all because they obviously don't want to spoil anything. But yeah, they want to reposition Darkseid as the biggest, baddest DC Universe villain, and they're doing it in this story. And his quest for power leads him to these three folks right here, in some way or form. I don't know how, I don't know why, but fuck it, I'm game.
No, this looks really cool.
I'm game for all of this, so yeah.
And then you're going to be there to talk to them about this project altogether, right?
Yeah. From what I understand, I want to say Snyder and Williamson are going to be present at the panel, both of them, but I know for sure, I read a while back, Scott Snyder is for sure going to be there, and now that I know that, I don't know if I'm going to, but I really want to bring some of my original comics that I have from him and Greg Capullo. I want to get them signed by him. Technically, is Scott Snyder spearheaded the whole project? Well, it's Scott Snyder and Joshua Williamson. They've been the ones talking about it. I literally listened to them talk about it today. So, yeah, I'm excited. Obviously, we're all DC fans here. So if you're a DC Comics fan, they even equated this as a jumping on point for people and calling it a celebration of comic books and how comics are still awesome and are always going to be awesome, and DC Comics and DC Comics characters are still awesome to this day. And even then, that's still true. They have thrived for over 85 years. So I think reinventing these characters and setting them in a different universe, is it a little bit like Ultimate Marvel? Sure, but calling it Absolute and giving a twist on these characters, I'm fine with. That's something people have wanted for a long while. That's why people read a lot of the Black Label comic books, because they're not continuity. They're not in canon. They are Elseworldy stories. And if this kind of falls into an Elseworldy banner that also ties into mainstream continuity, that's cool too.
Well, definitely some cool shit. There's a lot of cool shit happening at San Diego Comic-Con. Phil's going to be there to cover as much of it as he possibly can. I know that the Batman, or I should say the Penguin series, is going to have their own presentation as well. Matt Reeves is going to be there to talk about his Batman universe and also the Cape Crusader. I think you were mentioning, too, that you had passes for the Cape Crusader Q&A, but that was during Hall H, right?
So I did get an email in regards to the press for Cape Crusader. It is not in Hall H. It's actually in another room. It's unfortunately at the same time that I will be in line for Hall H, so I cannot make it.
Yeah, no, I would do the same thing if I were you.
Yeah. Because that happens on Friday, and then Saturday there's the Penguin panel, which ultimately I would like to go to both. If I could, I would, but someone else on our team is already handling Cape Crusader, which is totally fine. I'm fine with that. Besides that, the show airs literally the week I get back, so I'm just gonna watch all 10 episodes regardless anyway. It would just it's a week. It really doesn't matter all that much to me. Really, I really just want to pick Matt Reeves' brain if I get the chance to about Batman in general. That's kind of ultimately where I'm at with that. I'm not sure that I will, but just being in the same room as a guy who directed a Batman movie is just an awesome feeling in and of itself. So we'll see what happens.
Absolutely. No, and that would be awesome if you get a chance to talk to him. But switching, well, here's the thing. So we know that at Hall H, there's going to be a big presentation by the MCU, by Marvel. And I think that they're looking to kind of rebound and kind of probably establish that they still got it. They still have the mojo to make some pretty cool shit, which I think they do. And I've seen so many random posts about what they're going to be presenting. But with the whole Disney data leak that happened recently, I'm sure everyone's just running with whatever they can, saying, "Oh yeah, I heard this from a source." So there's gonna be a lot of things we're gonna talk about. Obviously, I think that the MCU is gonna cover
Such a
the
shame
signing
that
of the
happened, dude.
Russos. I mean, they might even bring them on. Who knows? But definitely, Captain America: A Brave New World and the Thunderbolts, I think, will be there in terms of panels. And I've heard rumors that they are going to possibly drop a Thunderbolts trailer at San Diego Comic-Con. Because that's going to be the next film after Captain America that comes out. Now, I would imagine it's going to be exclusive just for San Diego Comic-Con, and then hopefully later that day it'll release on the internet for everybody else, but we'll see how they kind of handle that. But that's what I've heard, is that so far that the Thunderbolts might have a trailer at San Diego Comic-Con, which I think is cool.
I think it's plausible. I mean, that movie's in the can. It's done. It's not done, but they're done filming, right? Like, so...
Yeah.
I think an exclusive Thunderbolts trailer for Comic-Con makes sense.
Sorry, that was me.
What was that?
Yeah,
I forgot I was sharing audio. I was like, whoop.
yeah, it's all good. Yeah, no, I think an exclusive trailer for Thunderbolts would be pretty saucy. I actually wonder if there's going to be anyone from the Thunderbolts cast to come out and present for it. Like, I could see Florence Pugh making an appearance.
Yeah.
Probably Sebastian Stan. Maybe, you know what? I could see David Harbour going there, because I'm going to shut up right now. I almost said something I was not supposed to say. But yeah, I could see maybe David Harbour showing up for reasons, because he's in the movie as well. I could see who else is on that roster that's popular? Oh, Kurt Russell's kid, Wyatt Russell. There we go. John
Yes.
Walker. I could see him popping up too. But, you know, we'll see. I did see that the Fantastic Four cast has landed in London ahead of shooting. So I wonder if they will show up, if they are going to take like a jet plane from there to here for Comic-Con and then fly all the way back. I almost feel like they might show up virtually, but
Yeah,
I don't know.
that could be it as well. I think definitely Kevin Feige is going to drop, a new slate of movies that are set to come out. Now, will they hold true? Probably not, because lately the slates that he's been dropping, usually, there was one where it was like, yeah, you're going to have an Avengers film like back-to-back 1 year
apart.
after the next. Yeah, I was like, there's no way. And then, of course, that didn't happen. So we'll see what he does, and we'll see what he drops. But there was a new trailer that came out for Captain America: A Brave New World. I don't think we showed it on here last week, did we?
We didn't get the chance to because it dropped on Friday.
Yeah. So let's take a look at Captain America: A Brave New World, the new trailer that came out. And let me make sure my volume is right. There we go. Share volume. And let's take a look at Captain America: A Brave New World.
Wilson.
Thanks for coming in. Well, thank you for the invite, sir. I have to admit, I'm still getting used to the new look.
They said lose the mustache or lose the election. You and I haven't always agreed in the past, but I want to make another run at making Captain America an official military position.
And if we disagree on how to manage this situation, then what happens?
Work with me, Sam. We'll show the world a better way forward.
Sir, your inner circle's been compromised. Either you can't see that, or you don't want to. What if it's a trap? Global power is shifting. You're just a pawn.
You may be Captain America, but you're not Steve Rogers.
You're right. I'm not.
Now, see, I like this. I like the tone. I like the seriousness. I like how it's action orientated. To me, this looks badass. I definitely want to see this movie when it comes out next year. Ryan, what did you think of Captain America: A Brave New World?
Yeah, I'm glad that the Red Hulk doesn't have a mustache. That would look silly. But yeah, I mean, overall, I'm liking what I see. You know, everything
Mhm.
looks good. You know, it does look like the tone is, you know, completely different from the Thor movies and the, you know, Guardians movies and all that kind of stuff. It looks like, you know, with this one, they're trying to take it a little bit more serious. Um, as far as like, you know, like you said, tone. So I'm interested. I think it's gonna be, that's cool. I think it's gonna be cool. I think it should be fun. So we'll see.
Phil, what do you think about this trailer so far?
I watched this trailer when it dropped pretty immediately. I saw someone share it to me directly, and I didn't believe it at first. And then when I had clicked on the link, sure enough, it was from Marvel Entertainment, Marvel Studios, and I was actually quite surprised. I did not expect Marvel Studios to drop this trailer. What are we like? Let's see, it's July. It comes out next February, because typical practice lately has been dropping a movie, 3, 4, 5 months before the movie comes out, and this is a good 7, 8 months. So I think ultimately they want this trailer out there because they're going to attach it to Deadpool and Wolverine, because it's just the trend. Marvel wants you to like stay in their seat, pay attention, and know what's coming next. This is the next film after Deadpool and Wolverine. The trailer itself looks magnificent. Like I love everything I've seen from this trailer. I like the tone. I like that Anthony Mackie is having no problem taking on the lead here. I think both suits, both the white suit and the new blue suit, look great. I love Giancarlo Esposito. I think he's a fantastic actor in his own right. I don't know what character he's playing. Our buddy RJ has had the chance to talk to him last weekend at a convention. Apparently, no one has been able to verify who his role is, even though some scoopers are kind of pushing back and saying, well, I heard this, well, I heard that. No, the truth of the matter is, no, you fucking don't. So calm your tits. But like, it's just, this movie just oozes fucking serious political thriller all the way through it. I think recasting Harrison Ford as Thunderbolt Ross is one of the best recasts they've done in a while. But then again, there's only a handful of recasts they've had to do anyway. But who else better to take on the role from the late great William Hurt than the veteran political thriller actor himself, Harrison Ford? I mean, you figure, what is it, Patriot Games? You've also got The Fugitive. Like, Harrison Ford is no novice to those kinds of movies, and having him take up the mantle of William Thunderbolt Ross and then getting to be the Red Hulk in this, because it's very clear that is Thunderbolt Ross who is going to be Red Hulk.
Oh yeah,
it's for sure him. Like, there's no doubt about it. But he's also going to have fun on this press tour too. People are going to ask him all these Marvel questions, and Harrison Ford's just going to be like, I don't give a shit. He's going to be so I don't give a fuck, and he's got that pedigree to be that way, and I am so looking forward to it. On the whole, though, I also really do like Tim Blake Nelson. He's in it for a very brief moment. You have to look close enough, but he looks a lot like the leader does in the comics. He's got the green skin. He's got a hat on. I can't wait to see if he's got the mustache or not. But he's playing some fucking violin strings here. This is gonna be a good one. And honestly, putting this film in February for Black History Month with a black Captain America, fucking you were. I see what they're doing. They are trying
on Valentine's Day.
On Valentine's Day, they're recapturing that Black Panther magic, and I see what they're doing, and I think it's the right call. I think and I also think just also on the other side of the coin too, just seeing that representation of having a black man carry that shield after what he went through in Falcon and Winter Soldier, I just think that this movie is going to take that step even further, and it's going to solidify Sam Wilson as Captain America and effectively probably the new leader of the Avengers. Like, this movie is going to be fucking badass, and I can't wait for it.
Yeah, it's like he's not in a position where it's like, oh yeah, he's going to be Captain America just for a little while until Steve Rogers comes back. No, I mean, this is your Captain America moving forward for the foreseeable future, unless they do a massive reboot of the entire universe. This is your Captain America. Now, I do think that Steve Rogers will come back for Secret Wars, but that's going to be for a special event kind of thing. 100%. I don't think he's going to be sticking around for extended period of time whatsoever.
No, you're going to get something in Secret Wars that's going to have both of them whip their shields. Like, it's going to be. Yeah. I would bet they're going to yank Steve Rogers and Tony Stark from various points in time and it's going to probably be some kind of battle world effect, something like that. And we're going to get like a dual Captain America. Like we're going to have Sam and Steve throwing the shield simultaneously, and it's going to be two shields going off at once. It's going to be fucking sauce. That's my guess. I don't know. I don't know that for fact, but I feel like that's kind of something they could do.
I
But,
want him
yeah.
to whip it out.
And they're going to. They're going to whip them both out.
Like I effectively, you're right. I do 100% believe that Sam is the Captain America going forward for the foreseeable future. There's no change in that.
And then here is Sam flying with what's the other guy's name?
Joaquin Torres, the next Falcon.
Yeah, the next Falcon. And that's cool that they can both fly too. It's crazy to think about too, because Sam Wilson is not a super soldier, not like Captain America was.
Right.
So he has some limitations, but he still has massive, skill and ability. So I think he's gonna do a great job. Obviously if we ask Anthony, he's not a huge fan of Anthony Mackie. but
That's true.
I think he's gonna do a good job. I think he's gonna do a good job.
I hear you. Like I am not a fan of the things Anthony Mackie said about Man of Steel, but like credit where credit is due. The man plays Sam Wilson to the T. And also for the people who bitch and moan about him throwing the shield, he threw the shield just fine to Falcon and Winter Soldier. But we're not gonna sit here and call foul on Black Widow and Hawkeye throwing the trailer Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
Like, come on. It's a ridiculous nitpicky thing to get mad about. He can't throw the shield. He's not strong enough. What?
Whatever.
Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
What's up, Rhea? Happy Wednesday to you as well.
I will see you on Saturday, Ray. I know we've got a meeting on Saturday with William regarding Comic-Con, so I'll be looking forward to a meeting there.
And that's a shot of his new helmet as well. When he's in his flying mode.
Here's another thing. You see that rocky space behind him?
Yeah.
You know what that is, right?
What is that?
That's the Tiamat Island. That's the Eternal thing that came out of the ground.
Oh, that's right. It's supposed to be in this movie.
Correct.
And I think they're trying to harvest something from that as well, because I mean, when you look back at like Guardians 1, they were inside in that place nowhere. They were inside of a dead celestial.
Right.
And they were harvesting what was it, like bone marrow and all kinds of shit. So maybe at this point the government has figured out, hey, we can do the same thing. That's that's badass. Let's go do it. RJ writes he's got a helmet to go at Mach speeds. Yeah, and that makes sense too. If he was helmetless and just flying hell fast.
His head would be like
it'd be like the boys, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're fighting over the metals and resources of Tiamat. It'll tie into the Thunderbolts later that year as well. And also
That's
too,
that's
I think Wamba said it earlier, and I had read the same report that obviously Sentry is going to make an appearance because he's one of the major characters in the Thunderbolts movie, from what I understand, unless they changed it. But so Sentry's going to be a major character. It could possibly be like one of the main villains who's not really a villain in the movie. One of those kind of deals.
Like an antagonist. Yeah. I don't know what or how the Thunderbolts and this. The rumor is that they're trying to harvest some form of adamantium from that island.
Yeah.
That's the rumor. I don't know that that's actually going to be the case, but they're definitely like that island is going to finally come into play, and I'm sure fans are probably going to be more than happy to finally be like, oh, thank goodness we can finally, get some nuggets of information in regards to what the, significance of this island is in the MCU. It's very clearly a celestial, like we know that from the Eternals.
Well, yeah, it took so long to get to that point too. I mean, we saw that in the Eternals. At the end of the Eternals, you saw the celestial sticking out, and everyone's like, "Oh, no one's noticed that yet." And then that was like how many years ago was the Eternals? Like 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
2021, 3 years ago.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
And the thing is like that's the fucked up thing about that year was you had Shang-Chi, you had Black Widow, Shang-Chi, Eternals, and Spider-Man literally in less than a 6-month time span, because Black Widow hit in July, and then Shang-Chi was in September, and then in November was Eternals, and then immediately 1 month later was Spider-Man. So on top of Eternals being kind of a mixed movie, the fact Spider-Man came out a month later, people were just like, we'll wait till Spider-Man. Like, I feel like Eternals would have fared much better had it been given a little bit more breathing room in between, Shang-Chi and Spider-Man, but that's hindsight's 2020, as they like to say.
And there it is again too. Look at it's firing these Tomahawk missiles, but look at that's the celestial right there sticking out.
Yep.
Or the skeleton. I wonder what they're shooting at. That's what I'm trying to. They're
I don't
probably
know.
shooting at Sam Wilson because remember he was flying earlier right by it.
Yep.
They're probably shooting at him like, oh, stop him. And then it shows in the trailer. It shows that scene of Thunderbolt Ross getting shot, or at least he shot through the glass. So it makes you wonder if that's when
by Isaiah Bradley, nonetheless, too.
Well, but it makes you wonder if that's when he injects himself with the Hulk serum in order to kind of save his life, and then he becomes that, or if he already has it. Who knows?
I don't know, because I feel like the way the trailer is cut, that feels like it's going to be in an early part of the movie.
Yes.
And the Red Hulk stuff looks like it's going to happen later. I think the leader absolutely has a part to play in the president becoming Red Hulk. I don't know the exact how, but I feel like that's a pretty easy dot to connect given the nature of how that's happened in the comics and other source material. So I feel like that's pretty plausible. But as far as Isaiah Bradley being the one to shoot the president, that feels very Winter Soldier. That feels like how Bucky would hear a sequence of words and then he would instantly go Winter Soldier mode. From what I understand, it's similar with Isaiah Bradley, but it's not words. It's like music that triggers him. So I don't know. And I feel like the beginning of it all is going to be like, why did Isaiah Bradley fucking snap and shoot at the president? Like, who caused this? What's the reason behind it? Obviously, Giancarlo Esposito is playing a character in this movie that is going to probably be on the antagonistic side. There's a new hero by the name of Sabra who's in this movie, retrofitted from Marvel Comics to being a U.S. official, government official, working underneath directly with President Thunderbolt Ross. So that'll be interesting. It's not like this is new. The MCU's done this for years. Like, they've taken characters from comics and they've kind of reconfigured them to fit in the confines of a Marvel Cinematic Universe, but they also have shades of who they are from the comics present as well. So this is really, again, like a nice amalgam of things from the comics, but also fitting into this universe.
Venom writes, speaking of Spider-Man, do you guys think we'll get a sequel announcement, even though both studios have been quiet regarding Spider-Man 4? Yeah, I would say no. No. I mean, the only thing you may get is if he gives you a slate. It might have a Spider-Man project listed on there, but I don't think there'd be anything more than that. Just a name.
If they were to announce Spider-Man, it would have to be a joint announcement between Sony and Marvel Studios. As far as I know, Sony is not going to Comic-Con. They don't have anything announced yet. This could change. There's still at least a couple days left. They could, but I don't think they are.
RJ writes, everyone is wondering where MCU Spider-Man 4 is. It's been almost 3 years since No Way Home. I have to imagine they're going to talk about it soon. I would hope so. I would hope that it comes out before Avengers 5. But the way it's looking, it may come out after. But we'll see. And obviously, yes, we've heard all the talks about how it's supposed to be more of a grounded movie, supposedly, where he takes on the Kingpin with the help from Daredevil, possibly, and that would come on the heels of the Daredevil Born Again series. But again, all that has to be in motion, and we know that Daredevil is in motion. I'm not sure if they finished production on that show yet, but I know that they were shooting it and they were making massive changes to the show, including bringing in Foggy and
they completely reconfigured it after shooting a couple episodes.
Yeah, and Karen as well.
Right.
They brought everybody back in, and they're essentially making the Netflix show, I think, canon to whatever's happening in this show, which I think is a smart move. But it's supposed to be supposedly Daredevil, and then that leads right into Spider-Man 4, which I think that would be extremely badass if they were able to pull that off.
That's the hope, right?
Yeah, that exactly is the hope.
I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do. I don't buy. RJ, buddy, I love you, but Sony would not give Marvel the okay. They would want that glory for themselves announcing the next Spider-Man project. Much, despite the fact that yes, they make the movie together, Sony still wants to be the one to say, yes, we're making the movie, even though they're going, but Kevin Feige's really making our movie for us. Like that's really, they really want to be the ones to say, yes, we're doing another Spider-Man movie. And they've already kind of said that. They just haven't said like when it is actually happening, on top of the fact that Tom Holland is probably reconfiguring and renegotiating his contract because he's likely taking a much more involved Robert Downey Jr., Ryan Reynolds type of approach to being involved with the movie where he has more of a say creatively. That's my guess.
Yeah, I think that, like I said, if you're going to get any kind of announcement whatsoever, it's going to be a slate that might have Spider-Man 4 listed on there, or just an unnamed Marvel project. You know what I mean? Like that's how it'll be labeled.
Correct.
Lame.
Yeah.
That's how it'll be labeled. But I think that's really all you would ever get, unless they were involved with it, unless they're going to put more into it. I don't think they would even announce Spider-Man 4. Because
here's my
really
thing. Here's my thing. Right, like I think Marvel Studios is going to announce their Phase 6 slate. That's what I think they're going to do, because Phase 5 is all but finished. Phase 5 ends next year with Thunderbolts, and then in the same calendar year, we get Fantastic Four kicking off Phase 6. They've made that clear. It's not the first time they've done this before, where they've had one phase end and another begin in the same calendar year. They did it with Age of Ultron and Ant-Man. They did it again with I guess you could maybe argue, Endgame and Spider-Man Far From Home. Like you could make that argument, even though people say that Far From Home is technically like the epilogue and part of Phase 3. Maybe I think you could probably call it the beginning, technically the beginning or issue 0 of Phase 4. I don't really know. I don't really care. But yeah, it's not the first time that they've had, one phase end and another phase begin in the same calendar year. I do think for sure they are announcing Phase 6, and I can guarantee you one project on that Phase 6 list is more than likely Doctor Strange 3.
Yes.
I would bet donuts to dollars that Doctor Strange 3 is probably going to get announced at Comic-Con. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I would not be surprised to see that title on that slate for Phase 6.
And there are rumors too that the next Doctor Strange will be helmed by Sam Raimi, but again, it hasn't been officially announced, so we don't know. There's also talk about obviously the Blade project on where that would fall, and there's also talk about I've heard talk, at least in the past, and I think recent though, about Thor, the next Thor movie, possibly coming out before Secret Wars, which I could see that to kind of reestablish Chris Hemsworth's Thor, but I don't know. I don't know where they go with that. I don't know what they're going to do with that. I don't even know if that's even a project that they want to focus on right now. I don't know where they stand with Thor.
I feel like Thor is one you could probably throw on the slate. The question is do you do Thor with Taika Waititi or without Taika Waititi? I think the real answer to that question is without Taika Waititi, because Chris Hemsworth has said, the last one was kind of silly. I don't need to do that again with the character. We need to do something different. And I feel like if you're going to do a Thor 5, you either do it in between Avengers 5 and 6, or you do it before Avengers 5 and take him off the board. That way you have to find another powerhouse for the Avengers to utilize.
Yeah, I would imagine Thor 4 would probably come out after Avengers 5 and would be before Secret Wars to kind of help bolster up that build up to Secret Wars. But it depends on how they leave it at the end of Avengers 5. If it's a direct lead in, then maybe you don't do that, and he's just there already. And then, of course, people were talking about how, they're going to cancel the Young Avengers. Now I'm hearing talk that the Young Avengers is still on the table and that they're still going to do a Young Avengers movie. So we'll see what they do with that. It could even be that in Avengers 5, that's when the Young Avengers kind of make their appearance in one of the Avengers movies. Like, the Avengers are tied up, so the Young Avengers come together and fight another part of whoever the villain or the villain's plan is. So I could see them doing something like that. But I think it's to say that the Young Avengers is canceled. It's tough because you had an end credit scene with Kamala recruiting Kate Bishop, and you're just like, now we're just going to drop that. Screw that. They don't usually do that. They don't usually put something in there and then just drop it all together. Even the Celestial, everyone thought after a while, hey, are they ever going to get back to that? And they clearly are in Captain America: A Brave New World. Let's go to a super chat, a $5 super chat from Connor
thanks.
Dorian. Connor Dorian, this is for you. When it comes to Disney hack, I think that they're going to run with this in the sense that, like, hey, anything you hear in terms of, like, scoops or leaks, it could be, like, anyone could say anything because they're going to say, it's from the hack or the Disney hack. But you don't know. So if I were Disney, I would just play into it and just start releasing all kinds of bogus information and just to throw everybody off. But who knows? Ryan, what do you think about the Disney hack?
I think it's unfortunate. I don't think any company should should be hacked by anybody, and
Hacked.
that sucks. I mean, when Sony got hacked, that sucked. That would that caused a lot of problems for people.
Good. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't
Here, keep going. I'm gonna grab some water. Hold on.
Yeah, okay.
Keep going.
Yeah, I don't see that it's I mean, I don't exactly know like how far reaching it is, how much information was lost or whatever, I don't know if that affects their, the Disney Plus, accounts for people that have Disney Plus, if they can access the their customer database or whatever. I don't know how far reaching the hack was. I saw some mention of it, maybe a couple days ago, but I was like, okay, well that sucks, but I don't have any stake in Disney, so I'm not really worried myself about it. What do you think, Phil?
I saw bits and pieces of it. I didn't dive too deep into it because I just want to be aversive of spoilers of any kind. Yes, RJ, we did talk about it, but we can kind of circle back to it if you'd like to. But yeah, it definitely, I know for sure, like a terabyte of information was at least taken, and
that's a lot of information.
Yes, it is.
That's a shit ton. That's more than most people's hard drives.
That's a typical hard drive size these days.
I have
these days 1 terabyte, 2 terabyte is typical. But I mean, for just people that have a computer and haven't updated or changed their computer or anything like that, they're still stuck on like what gigs and shit. So
yeah,
and their terabyte maybe an external drive, but that's a lot of fucking data, man. That's not small potatoes.
No, it's not.
Not at all. And then yes, we did talk about DC's All In. I don't know if Phil wants to cover that again, but he's going to be there to cover it at San Diego Comic-Con, which is really, really cool. And you're also pretty excited about it as well, as you were saying earlier.
Yeah, this is something I saw today. I mean, I wasn't too sure about like what their new Absolute Universe was going to look like, what it was going to be about, how drastically different it was going to be. But I got to say, like, after seeing the concept art of this stuff today and hearing Joshua Williamson and Scott Snyder talk about it, I'm pretty game for it. Like, I honestly think that like these characters thrive on reinvention, and honestly, I love all those designs. I think they look great. I think it's very reminiscent of the Snyderverse to some extent, not completely, but you can see hints and shades of it in art form, at least visually speaking. I think Batman looks like a fucking beefy monster, and I'm in love with it. Like I love how just enormous that emblem is on his chest. I'm very curious to see how different their origins are in these new universes. So I'm just super excited to see where this stuff goes, and I'm also super excited to learn more next week, a week from tomorrow.
Dude, his legs are
gigantic.
I'm telling you, man. Look at those.
Yeah.
If I had thighs like
me,
that,
oh my god,
I'm with. Woo. Damn.
Brutal. RJ writes, I'm looking forward to Absolute Universe stuff and relaunching the main line universe. Scott Snyder wants this to be a jumping off point for new readers and for this to be a huge initiative. And you had talked about that too, is that they were literally advertising it as a new jumping off point for DC.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the bat symbol there though. I like the bat, whatever gauntlets or whatever that is that he has wrapped, I guess wings. And I like the shoulder blades and the ears are cool, but just that symbol just looks like a rectangle with some divots here and there.
But it's got ears here, right? Boom and boom. But yeah, I see what you mean though. It's
just,
the fattest bat you could possibly get.
It's just a rectangle with some points on it. But I like the boots. I like that. That looks pretty cool, and the little guards on top, I guess. But yeah, no, it's cool. I like this look here. He's got a collar on the top of his shirt.
Yeah, a little bit.
But then his arms, like, what are those gauntlets? Are they glowing? Like I saw
I saw that too. I was wondering about that.
And I think that his whatever, it's not a belt, but whatever's on his hips, I guess that glows as well. That's what it looked like in the other image.
Apparently, they're really leaning into the idea of Superman being more alien this time around.
Mm.
And according to RJ, according to the leaks, this Batman doesn't have much technology or money. all the heroes are going to be underdogs, according to what Snyder said in the announcement video.
That's a lie because they couldn't afford their costumes.
I mean,
especially this one. Like, is that a horse?
That looks like a horse, something
Looks
like that.
like a horse with wings, like what are those things called from Harry
Centaur.
Potter? No. From
I don't know what they're called. I know what
I
you
don't
mean
remember.
though.
Pegasus.
Yeah.
What was it? What was it? Remember, he was like, if he
More-
bows
more
at
like-
you, that means he respects you.
Yeah. Bow.
See, I love Harry Potter movies. They're so
Hippogriff.
good.
You're thinking of
The
the
hippogriff.
You are
The
special.
hippogriff. Yes.
hippogriff. Yeah, I thought
So-
Pegasus for a second, but yeah, that just might be a hippogriff.
Yeah.
So to kind of branch off of the off of DC, let's talk about another topic, another show that we're all big fans of, which is The Boys. And now The Boys season finale is coming
That's
up
not-
yeah.
tonight.
That's tonight.
tonight at midnight. I'll be streaming that with Sean.
Nice.
We're gonna be doing that now. We probably won't be on X, but we'll be on Twitch, so you can definitely watch us there. Next time that we reconvene, I'll have the X account all set up, but probably not tonight. But looking at the previous episode of The Boys, okay, so this show continues to not disappoint, at least in my opinion. I the last episode I thought was so good. I really liked it.
Oh yeah,
Um,
it sets the stage for a finale. That's for damn sure.
and like the whole thing that Homelander has set up is turning into a huge shit show. And at one point in the episode, I couldn't believe it, but they sent the new Black Noir and the Deep to their hideout to take them out,
Yeah.
and they completely failed.
And what's funny, and you know, there's a couple things in the show, and like overall, dude, I love it. But there's a couple things in the show where I'm like, wait a minute, this is going against how they normally do shit. Like it would be that Black Noir and the Deep would have gone there, and they would have got not just their ass handed to them, but like they would have fucking died, like blood splattered or some shit like that, right? And that didn't happen. And then when Starlight like crushed him with whatever she grabbed. I don't know what the hell she grabbed, but she like fucking went over him and said, fuck you. Just crushed him.
Oh yeah.
I was like, oh well, there goes the Deep. But then they went back to the tower and they were like, bro, you know, like,
Well, because they're superheroes. I mean, they're super.
I'm talking about
Yeah,
superheroes
but-
dying
but-
every fucking episode.
I know, but they've established in this show at least that every person that's a soup for the most part is somewhat, you know, has invulnerability.
Yeah.
Unless they're taking on another soup who's just as strong, if not stronger, and then he or she can just fuck them up.
Right.
But all of them seem to have a bit of that. I mean, even Starlight has a bit of that. And I think when the show started, I didn't think she did, but apparently she does. So
Yeah, had Starlight and Kimiko and even A-Train not showed up, they probably would have been fucked. Like,
yeah, that's right. A-Train showed up too,
Right,
and that was again super
Butcher,
crazy.
Butcher and MM would have fucking died if not for all three of them. Like,
Yeah.
there's no doubt about that in my mind. But the fact that like the Deep is so like, I need to prove myself to Homelander. I want to be with Sister Sage. Fuck the octopus. I need to prove myself. It's just like, wow, you're really just letting your ego take complete full control over yourself this season, aren't you? He's just such a fucking simp this season, and I think it's great.
Yeah.
It's great and funny because he's so try hard, and it's hilarious.
Yes, that's the
hats-
best way to describe him. Try hard.
Like hats off to Chance Crawford for just playing the shit out of this role and doing the absolute best. But man, I gotta admit, like when him and Noir are walking through the tower and they're like, bro, and then Sage walks by both of them, and Noir's like, what? I'm not gonna get any night. And then Deep looks at him like, wait, you too? Like completely just blindsided by the idea of like, wait a minute, you mean I've been getting played this whole fucking time by my friend? It's like,
but not
Well, not only that,
Bravo.
but he
bravo.
he didn't have to lobotomize her to fuck her.
yeah, he's like,
He didn't have to do it. He was just
Yeah.
like, wait, you do that? He's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
What?
I thought
What
we
you
had
talking about?
something.
Like, oh,
The only other
no.
thing that I was like confused about, because I only watched it once, but it was, you know, Deep had the octopus on the bed and she was fine. But then when he crushed her tank, she could not breathe. But I was like, wait, there was no water on the bed.
Yeah.
What's going
I
on
noticed
here?
that too.
And she was
But I
just like,
mean-
you know, they were talking and just kind of hanging out and whatever. And you know, there was no urgency or there was no, you know, she had no problems. But the minute he you know, destroyed the tank, you know, she was like, save me. And I was like, wait, what's wrong? What?
It's a bit
just,
of
the
a-
logic just didn't match for me. So I was like,
It was
know
a
who-
bit of
you
an
know who-
inconsistency, but I mean, the show was so good that
No,
like,
no,
I
the
was
show's
willing to
good.
overlook that. I was like, all right.
I'm not saying it's a bad show because of that.
No,
I
no,
was
no,
just
I'm
like,
just
wait a
saying.
minute, that didn't make sense to me.
You know who voices the octopus, right?
Oh, it's we had this conversation before. It was
Oh, yeah. We have.
It
I
was,
forgot. It's Tilda Swinton.
yes.
Yes.
And then on top of that, it's like she's like, I thought you were gonna move me back to the bigger tank. Oh yeah, babe, totally. I gotta go. I'll be back.
He was like,
"But wait,
I know where you've been. I can smell her whatever on you. Or
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
I was like, damn.
and then she's like, ah. And it's quiet. He's like, ah.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Like
that's
three
sort of a
times,
trope.
like,
That's been done. But it
I
was
know
funny
it was funny
still.
though.
It was
Yeah,
still
I was like,
funny.
Jesus, you won't die. And then,
And then Ryan, what the fuck was he gonna say? He
That's
was
the
just
thing.
about to
End.
say
That-
something, and I was
that's
like,
the thing,
hmm.
and that's just it. That is very teenager, where they're about to let something big slip, and they're like, "Wait a minute, I can't fucking do this." Boom, boom.
yeah, never
Yeah.
mind. Like, oh,
Yep.
And I wonder
I-
what it was.
yeah.
I love that this episode was Christmas in July.
It was.
This episode was Christmas in July for the boys, and I'm like, this is great.
They had all those posters of the different posters of Homelander in different outfits and shit all
Yeah.
over the fucking place.
Yeah.
I was like, oh
Yeah.
god, that was funny. And then
Yeah.
and then she gets fucking the spider guy fucking like ripped apart.
Oh God, yeah.
And that
Oh.
it wasn't even the leak.
What was his name?
Web Weaver.
Web Weaver. Yeah. He just rips him in half. And Sister Sage is like, holy shit.
Firecracker. It's
Oh,
Firecracker.
Firecracker. Yeah. She was like,
Firecracker
what the
was like,
fuck?
what the fuck did I do?
And it's funny because, like, in the previous episode, I think it was the previous one, when she squirts him with the milk,
Yeah, that's in
before
the
she
sixth.
does
Yeah.
that, like, he's literally, like, in a mode where, like, he may have killed her. He's like, so you're the one who let Starlight get away. You're
Yeah.
just like, oh, he's gonna flip on her, and then she did that, and he was like, oh, fucking
yeah.
going ape
He's
shit
like,
for her. But then, but
"Mommy
even
milk."
that isn't enough, because later on she's like, he's all like get out of here. She's like, are you sure you want me to
Jerry,
go?
Is there anything I can do for you?
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
get the
yeah,
fuck
yeah.
out.
Just get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. But like her
I think he would have
reaction
had a
was such a
completely different
natural
reaction.
reaction.
If she'd squirted him again, just like when he doesn't want it and he's not as surprised, like get the fuck you.
But like,
I told you
like,
get the fuck out.
The way she responded to him saying, "Just get the fuck out of here,"
Yeah.
it was such a natural, like, okay, fine. She's like,
She was like,
and again, he's losing control again, like he does almost every single season. Where
Oh,
right
yeah.
when he thinks he has a grasp on things, he's falling apart, and all the while he's literally ignoring, what's the kid's name? Kyle.
Ryan. Oh,
Ryan, Jesus, Ryan.
Kyle?
I'm talking.
Who's
I know.
Kyle?
Like he's literally ignoring Ryan, and Ryan again is starting to see all of the fuckery that Bot does.
Homelander can't balance, in his life. He can't balance it all. So
Yeah.
once he has a focus, he's got that focus until something distracts him, and sends him in a different direction, and then he's totally lost focus on what he was doing.
Yeah, look at the way he was brought up. He was raised in a fucking lab to be like
Yeah.
the best soup, right? He doesn't have that clear direction. He does not have that, empathy for other people. He was literally bred to be like the perfect warrior, the perfect fucking superhero. That's all he's ever known. He was put through so many different trials and tribulations. He was put through so many tests of like vulnerability to become like the best of the best, right? And now all he knows is superiority. And that's where the superiority complex comes from. He's literally the superior being, and that's why he feels the need to be like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to put humanity in concentration camps. I'm going to make super beings the fucking dominant race. It's like he's taking Magneto's perspective on the mutants and amplifying it to like an almost Adolf Hitlerian kind of level. And it's spooky, but at the same time, it's like that's what makes the villain that he is somewhat compelling, because you understand where he's coming from, even though it's diabolical, disgusting, and evil. It's like that's true motive. That doesn't come from anywhere that's just I'm doing it because I'm evil. It's like, no, he was treated like shit by human beings as a lab rat, and now he's going to turn around and be like, you know what? Fuck humanity. I'm the fucking superior being, and I'm gonna make damn sure that my kid knows that he's in a world where he is superior too. And it's like, buddy, I hear you, but you're fucked off in the head, something fierce.
Oh yeah, no, it's fucking
Something
nuts.
wicked, yeah. But that's what makes him such a great antagonist, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that goes for
Yeah.
all of them, true. Like you can see all the flaws in all of these characters. Like look at A-Train, for example. He's been on like the redemptive path all season, and he's been struggling with it. He's like, dude, I don't want to be the fucking hero. I don't want to be any of this shit. But then he saves MM's life, and what happens? A fucking kid sees him saving MM's life. And he's like, that was the first time I felt like a real fucking hero. Fuck all this VOT bullshit. That was the first time I actually did something good and felt good for it. It's like, he's going to die at the end of the season.
Yeah, I know.
Oh yeah,
And it's going to
like,
suck.
oh, he's gonna die.
He's going to die, and it's going to hurt because they went through all this like
yeah.
development for him to like turn on VOT. But now that Homelander's like, I'm going to A-Train. How could he do this to me? And then Firecracker's like, oh, he turned off his tracker. It doesn't matter. Homelander's going to fucking find him, and it's going to be sad. It's just gonna tug at the strings a little bit. Even though he fucking kicked off the whole show by killing Robin anyway, it's still gonna suck to watch him go.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, A-Train's gonna die for sure.
Yeah, I think he's definitely gonna die, but he's starting to figure it out. And he's starting to realize that, like, and I really like that scene when he was like, you know, a kid saw me, and that felt better than any fucking fuckery that VOT has ever done. Like, because it was real, it was genuine, and he actually felt like a superhero. He was like, wow, I just did something that a child saw and like admired me for. But yeah, that was a sign of like, you're gonna die soon. But we'll see what happens. Let's go to the $5 super chat from the Movie Raider.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you. This is for you.
Helicopter.
He says, do y'all think if Zach's Watchmen came out today, we're totally going off topic here. If Zach's Watchmen came out today, would it have been better received and had a passionate following similar to The Boys? Absolutely.
Well, yeah, because I mean that's all been set up. You've got Invincible, you've got The Boys, you've got there's these sort of darker, like even
He
that one
paved the way for those.
He did. But
To
if
come to live action,
if
to come to
something
TV.
else had come out, and then his was released, I think it would have been more well received because people would have been like, oh, okay, it's in that same vein. And I already like The Boys. I already like Invincible. I already like this. So watching The Watchmen, which is a little bit more grounded. It didn't have the octopus. No, it does.
It's got a giant squid. It's got a giant
Yeah,
squid.
right. Squid. Sorry. It would. I think it would be more well received. I think it wouldn't receive as much distaste or whatever that it did at the time. I think it's a great film, and I thoroughly enjoy it. But I think just in the current climate of what's being released today and what people are used to today, I think it would be well received.
Yeah, I think it definitely would. Phil, what do you think?
I think that the 2009 film directed by Zack Snyder, regardless of whatever cut, honestly, because they're all tonally pretty much the same. But, I think that movie is the stepping stone for stuff like Invincible, for stuff like The Boys, and even stuff like, that is more off the beaten path, more grounded, more consequential in terms of like the existence of superheroes. Like Watchmen basically walked so The Boys could fly.
Yeah,
that's kind of where I'm at with it. And even looking at the Watchmen TV show that came out a couple years ago too, I feel like that also has a bit of a presence here as well, because it's very ancillary to the graphic novel, but visually it adheres to a lot of what the movie did as well. Like it's almost like the Watchmen TV show in a way mirrors what Dr. Sleep, the movie, did for both the book Dr. Sleep and the movie The Shining. It's almost similar in that way. But I think if you look at like The Boys and the Watchmen, like just Watchmen as in a whole, like the Watchmen book in general really turn the narrative around for comic books and superheroes and comic books, and the way you approach comic books and the way you tell superhero related stories. And not only that, but just like the pure actions and consequences of having superheroes present, because that book is predicated entirely on an assassination of a superhero. and the ramifications that had, the causes that lead up to that assassination, the reasons why said character was assassination, like the presence of Dr. Manhattan being who he was and what he meant to the world. Like, that book in and of itself is so grounded, yet it takes such creative big swings with its characters, because that book doesn't have a happy ending. Like, no one walks out of that book fucking smiling. Like, this is not Superman saves the day. Fuck no. Like, Adrian Veidt killed millions of people to save billions of people. That's the thing. Watchmen makes you think about actions and consequences, and the fucked up part is like, there is some fucked up human nature that goes along with it too, because Adrian Veidt's whole plan was like, if I am to avert World War III between Russia and America, then I have to do something that is going to bring them together, and that action is going to have consequence. That consequence is millions of people are going to fucking die in Manhattan, because I am going to drop a giant telekinetic pathic squid on these people, and it is going to send a seismic psionic blast, killing millions. And Rorschach's like, no, fuck that. We can't do that. This is not who we are. And Dr. Manhattan's like, well, it kind of is. We have to let this happen. Otherwise, the world is fucked. And Rorschach's like, nope, people need to know the truth. And Rorschach's like, if you got to kill me, then kill me. And Manhattan's like, I got to kill you. And Rorschach's like, fucking do it then. And he does. That's just it. Again, this book has no fucking happy ending. Like, it is all about actions and consequences. And I think The Boys is in the same vein. Like, the world wanted to create superheroes. Well, what happens when you create superheroes and they're still people on the inside?
Sure.
What happens when they're also superficial people? What happens when you turn these people into celebrities? Well, guess what? Some celebrities in the real world turn out to be some pretty shitty human beings.
Yes.
What happens when you have a shitty human being become a superhero? Guess what? They're still shitty people. Oh, fuck. That means you have a shitty superhero out there too. Oh,
Yeah.
That's not good. That's not a good thing.
Yeah.
A lot of them are shitty human beings in The Boys, especially. But that was one of the things about Watchmen that was so cool, was that, it's a lot of, imperfect people. They're not like these perfect superheroes. They're very imperfect, and they have these flaws that are glaring. And I like that about it. It's funny because when we went and saw it in the theater, we went with a group of us, and my buddy Brian didn't know anything about Watchmen. And so when he's watching it, he leaned over. He's like, so which one of them has superpowers? I was like, I'm all, none of them do. He's like, none of them do? I'm all, Dr. Manhattan. But I was like, yeah. None of them have powers. He's like, what the fuck? And so he was even like
Kick-Ass.
Yeah, Kick-Ass.
And Super.
Super was good.
And just, but that sort of like opened it up for like stereotypical superhero movies to kind of be introduced. And that one that that James Gunn's brother did with the kid.
Oh, boy, Brightburn. Yeah.
That
was pretty good too. I actually like that movie.
Yeah, I liked everything except for like, I think she, like a shard of glass went in a lady's eye, and I was like, I don't like that. But the movie was good. I just didn't like that part.
You're like,
yeah. I was like, that's disgusting.
It's still like, when you bring up the movie Kick-Ass, I still hope that when they introduce Damian Wayne, that like he has a scene like the way, Hit Girl shows up and she's like slicing dudes' legs off and fucking just totally killing everybody. I hope Damian Wayne has a scene like that. I hope they introduce him, in that
as
kind
an
of vein,
assassin instead of
where
just
he's fucking super violent.
Yeah.
I don't know if they will or not, because I mean, they're gonna have to appeal to kids.
They'll
too.
do the implied stuff, like when Disney in the Acolyte show, when they cut the guy's head off, it was off screen. You could not. It wasn't. What do you call that? Indirect. Where like you see the action and then you see the head roll. You'll see stuff like that, or he'll stab. It won't be fucking bloody and gory and all that kind of shit, but you will see, because it's got to fucking match up with the Superman movie as well, because they all live in that same universe. And they
House of the Dragon, they freaking cut some dude's head off, and I was like, oh, like they're not going to show it, and they just you see his head like.
Didn't they just show somebody's penis or something? I heard in the show.
Yeah.
Season 4, 5.
dude.
Where it's Greyjoy. Theon Greyjoy gets his shit cut off by Ramsay Bolton.
Mm-hmm.
That's season 4, I think. Season 4 or 5. One or the other.
There was who was it? I forgot his name. The guy from the Night's Watch, the fat guy, when his brother and dad get fucking killed by Daenerys when she tells her dragon to burn them. I was so brutal. I was like, fuck, they're just gonna take it, aren't they? Like, they just got incinerated. I was like, God damn. That fight in general, when she comes with the Dothraki horde and she has the dragon, that to me, I mean, still, there's a lot of things I love about Game of Thrones, the original, but that scene was fucking mind blowing. The devastation that the dragon put on all of them was like,
that's good. But I also distinctly remember Daenerys's brother having fucking melted gold thrown on his, like, that was metal as fuck. No pun intended.
And that was like the second episode of the first episode. It was very early on. I was like, oh fuck, that guy's dead already. Shit.
Yeah.
So
Game of Thrones has no problem being like, oh, you like this character? Dead. Oh, you think Sean Bean's gonna be a player? Ha! You're funny.
Dead. But like
that was the reason why I quit watching.
When she came flying in with that dragon. And then she tells it, to fire, and it goes, and just incinerates that whole section of the Lannister army, and everyone, and they're all looking at it like the people on the ground are just like, what the fuck just happened, And it was just so devastating. Like dudes were like turned to ash. It was like, oh my god, it was a great scene, really good scene. But going back to the boys, I think that I'm really excited for the finale. I want to see where it goes. I don't think Butcher's going to die. I'll tell you that.
No,
he's definitely going to be.
Like,
as long as Ryan's there, and needs his help, they're not. That's gonna keep that character alive.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, I don't think you get the boys without some Game of Thrones to some extent too. Because Game of Thrones really popularized this idea of, oh, we can be graphic, brutal, and vigilant in our storytelling, and people will fucking show up for it, and that's kind of what the boys does to some extent.
The graphic sexual nature of the show definitely lends to that, where you're like, oh, you can do that. Oh, and they're doing it, and they're getting away with it, and it works. And they just, I mean, the boys are doing shit that were every episode where they're doing shit. You're just like, oh god, like Tech Knight when he's like, you want to go to the tech cave? And they go down there. It's a fucking dungeon. I was like, oh no.
And it was like,
I'm like, this is nothing like Batman. This is fucking horrible.
This is nothing like Batman.
I was like, my god. His butler, do you know how many messes I've had to clean up?
Gross.
Disgusting. It was absolutely disgusting. And they took that to the extreme. Like there was long scenes where they were down there fucking with Huey in the web weaver suit. He's like, say your say your code word. Your safe word. Say it. He's like, lube. He's like,
it was Zendaya.
Yeah, Zendaya. What? That's the safe word, Zendaya.
Oh my god, that was too fucking funny. That was way too funny. That was like, way more funny than it had any right to be. Oh my god.
Yeah, well, but like it's the subtle things like that, or like when Phil and I were talking about House of the Dragon, when they broke into the castle and they killed the little boy, and then his wife runs over and then busts into the queen's room, and she's in bed with what's his face. They didn't have to have that, but they did it anyway. So as soon as you open that door, you're like, oh god. And they're like, ah! It was just a crazy scene.
Oh, where the dude is doing ATM to himself.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god, yeah, that was wild.
But it's the subtle things that you're just like, wow, that took a lot of creativity to really put that together. And so we'll see what happens tonight on The Boys. I'll be streaming it tonight on my Twitch channel. So definitely check that out.
Like Eric Kripke shared like a clip or like a finale trailer, and I was like, I love you, Eric Kripke, but I am not going to watch this.
Yeah, no, I haven't watched it at all.
Yeah, no, I'm going in stone cold. I want to be surprised.
It's probably going to reveal too much. I would imagine, because, but still, every episode is like a good solid hour for the most part, and it's well written, and the actors are well cast. Everything about it just works, and so I'm really excited for the finale of The Boys season 4. We know season 5 will be the final season of the show, so next season is it.
You know, going from like when it comes to episodes directed by showrunners, like you watch a TV show and you're like, oh, that was a great episode, but then you get to the episodes that are typically directed by showrunners, like case in point, Breaking Bad. Whenever the episode was directed by Vince Gilligan, there's like an extra level of like levity, there's an extra level of intensity, like you could tell there was some serious level of care put into that. And I feel like anytime there is an episode of The Boys directed by Eric Kripke, it's that same level of effort and that same level of intrinsic care that goes in with it. So the finale, for me, him directing the finale is going to be like, oh, y'all better prepare yourselves for some emotional fucking heartstrings.
I did think that Frenchie's return to the group was underwhelming.
It's convenient.
It was.
It was very convenient.
It was almost like, what was the point of all that?
Right.
You know, I was just like, well, why did we even do that?
I think that they're, you know, like they got to a point with his character where they just really didn't know what to do with him at that. You know, like what do we do with this kid?
I think it's less that and more probably the actor. Capone. I don't forget his first name.
Monker.
Something like that. I think it had more to do with him being kind of busy dealing with other stuff and not really being present too much through the season, which is why he had a very smaller part as opposed to previous seasons.
I thought it was more like they had so many characters that they needed to put him somewhere just for like a couple episodes.
Let's put him in jail.
Let's put him over. They put him in jail, and then we'll bring him back when we need him. But yeah, it was very convenient that all of a sudden he was back and was like, what happened here? He's like, oh, I talked to Mallory. She pulled some strings. You know, it was kind of like, oh, that was it, huh? That's all it took?
That's all it took.
And he confessed to like all these murders, and they're like, oh, whatever, fuck him, let him out. But we'll see how it goes. I still think the story revolving around Ryan is, to me, probably one of the most intriguing stories of The Boys so far. I want to see what he does, and really, other than throwing that guy hella hard against that building and killing him, he hasn't shown a lot of his powers yet. So I would love to see him start to fly and do things.
I think that'll be like the focus of next season, sort of like him sort of figuring shit out. Like,
because Homelander at one point has to have that feeling of like, oh shit, like he's as powerful as I am, you know, like there has to be a point where he has to challenge him. I mean, the only time we've ever seen
Homelander not as powerful as him, like I think he would be not jealous, but just sort of like, you know, Homelander could do something, but he did something even better or quicker or something, you know, he bested Homelander in some way. And he's like, all right, you know, fucking calm down there, buddy.
Well, the only way that I think the only thing that he can do that he hasn't done yet, and maybe we saw the beginnings of that in this past episode, was that he needs to be able to best him on the mic. So when he's in front of cameras, when he's doing interviews, doing commercials, if Ryan figures out how to best Homelander and top like him, we're like, you know, hey, Ryan, you don't feel that way, do you? Fuck yeah, I do, and here's why, you know. And then basically, once he starts to develop his own sense of
personality,
that's when Homelander's gonna be like, oh fuck, I don't like this. I'm not in control of this. He's a control freak, so he's gonna freak out. The only time we ever saw Homelander challenged physically was against Soldier Boy and Butcher when he had the Temp V in him. That was the only time.
And Queen Maeve to some extent, but
yeah, Queen Maeve. The at Hero Gasm, which is a fucking crazy episode. Yeah, when they had that fight, that was so badass. And Soldier Boy at one point is like kind of beating him up, and then he starts to beat up Soldier Boy. He's like, and he chokes him. He's like, "You really had me going there for a minute. I actually thought you might be as powerful as me, you know." And then all of a sudden, Butcher shows up and shoots him, and he's like, "What the fuck?" But I think Anthony Starr is doing a fucking phenomenal job with the character of Homelander.
Yeah, I mean, he's the glue of the show right there.
Oh, like, absolutely.
Without his presence, like everybody else is cool, but not. Like he's the reason why it's like everything is going on because everybody's like, what is this fucking loose cannon gonna do?
And this
That's just
season in
it.
particular, yeah.
Like he's the face of the show. Like,
yeah, oh, absolutely.
don't get me wrong. Like we obviously follow, the boys.
Butcher
Like,
and-
we follow Butcher,
yeah.
Huey, Frenchie, Starlight. Like we follow the main cast, but also like on the other side of the coin, we also follow like the complete spiral disaster that is John Homelander. Like I forget the character's last name, but yeah, like following the complete and utter just not only a deconstruction, but just a complete just fucking, a disaster in the making, right? Like we're following like this character who starts off like, oh yeah, I'm a superhero, but I can do whatever the fuck I want, and then it slowly turns into, no, I do what the fuck I want. And there's something really sinister, but just it's the right word I want to use here, captivating about just the level of like diabolical he's willing to go in order to achieve his machinations. And it's just really well done and really well written. Like Homelander,
Yes.
and I think they have like the best actor playing. Entity Star is just fucking firing on all cylinders. There's never been a bad performance from him.
I mean,
in any of the shows.
Last season at the end, in the last episode, when he fucking lasered that guy right in the head, everyone's like, yeah. He's like, ha ha ha, okay, yeah. It was just like, oh, good God, what has he done now? And they're cheering for it.
Yeah.
I mean, the parallels with in real life, it was just hilarious. And like, look, I don't want to get into politics whatsoever. I'm not saying I claim either or, a Democrat or Republican, but like there was that new vice president that was elected to be the running mate, and he has a video. It looks like it's straight out of The Boys. It starts off with him saying, "Are you racist? Do you hate Mexicans?" It like right off the bat, I was like, dude, I feel like I'm watching something from The Boys. This is fucking weird. And it's crazy how well The Boys have captured, what is becoming reality now. It's just like, oh my God, what is
Like
this? What world do we live in?
The episode opens up with like a riff on like the Muppets and Sesame Street.
Yeah,
It's the reverse. It's like we're having puppets tell us what the fuck is wrong with people. Like that
what was it? See something, say
Antifa.
something.
yeah. It's like this
Oh,
is not
God,
what
no.
Big Bird would tell you to do.
no, it was and then he stops. He's like, wait, hold on, stop. Like, okay, let's take a break. And all the puppets like kind of go.
And they all just die.
He's like, why are we telling people to like what to think and what to do? Look, your dad approved the dialogue, so we're just gonna go with it. Yeah, he's like, I'm not gonna die over this. Come on, dude.
Oh, okay.
But-
so speaking of just absolutely fucked and did not see it coming, even though it clicked in my brain a little bit too late. But when the chick in the bar took a selfie with Starlight,
Oh yeah,
and then I was like,
That
Is that-
was weird because then she
Aw.
had sex with Huey. But
I
was like,
knew
what
it too.
was the
I
point of that?
knew. Why was she
But how
even
would she
wearing that
know-
suit?
But does she like gain some knowledge from the people?
Maybe she
touches?
does. Maybe she
Because
does.
I was like,
I
how
don't
did
know.
you know that? The whole hiding of the suit and putting it on and all that or whatever. And then why would you have sex with the guy? That's weird. Unless like you haven't had it in a while. I don't know. It was weird. I was like, it was a pretty cool scene until I figured out it was her. I was like, wait a minute.
well, that's just like a whole other level of violation right there. Because
yeah.
once
Poor
and Andy
Huey.
yeah, dude. Poor wee Huey.
Yeah, poor Huey. He got off. He's like,
oh God.
it's like,
And he's gonna
"Don't
be like,
tell me,
wait,
don't
you
tell
fucked
me."
a shapeshifter who looked like me because they wore my costume? And he's gonna be like, maybe.
They did that in something else. Oh, fucking X-Men 97. He Cyclops was fucking the other girl. Didn't know it was Jean Grey.
But that was more like telepathically. Oh no, you're right. No, you're right.
no.
No,
Madeline
they had a
Pryor.
baby together.
Madeline
Yeah.
Pryor. Yeah.
Yeah, they had a
that's-
baby.
I was like, wait, I was like, I've seen.
But
this
he
somewhere.
really
Full-blown
didn't know.
child.
I mean, he really didn't know.
Neither did
Um,
Huey.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like not only did Huey lose his father, not
Yeah.
only
Virginity.
did he become a sex slave for an episode, then this happens. It's like, oh my God, this poor guy. It's one thing after another. And then fucking the doctor escapes from the lab on one leg. You know what I mean? I was like, I was like, come on, that was a little too convenient. I was like, but again,
the fucked up part is like Kimiko and Frenchie were gonna let him go too, and he just fucks them. It's like, dude, but you know that's the boys, right? Like that's you know, not everything always works out well for the boys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she got, and then he stabs her with it, and then they're like, "Oh, I gotta cut your leg off."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh," and they're like, "All right, now try and pull the sample from the leg." It was like, "Oh God." So that's what Frenchie's working on. So we'll see what happens at the end of this season. I don't think really any of the main characters are going to die. I don't think any of the major villains are going to die. Although I am wondering what is Newman's father, Giancarlo Esposito. Like, I wonder what his character is doing right now. Like, she has him somewhere, but we don't know where. We don't know what he's up to, but he's doing something. We just don't know what.
Mm-hmm.
And Homelander's aware of it. He knows that like he's escaped, but like nobody knows where he's at. Nobody has a clue where he's at except for Newman. So it's interesting to see what's going to become of that Newman. But we'll see. So definitely check out the boys. Check out tonight. If you go to my channel over on Twitch, I'll be streaming it tonight with Sean, also known as Nerd Cosa Nostra. He'll be with me as well. So definitely check that out. And we'll do a pre-show on YouTube. And then I'll drop the link for the Twitch on there as well. And we'll do a post show on YouTube as well. And then I got to be at work at 9 in the morning. So that kind of sucks. So
I mean, I got to be at work at 6, bro. So I hear you.
Brutal.
I don't know if I'm going to watch it at midnight, though. I don't know.
I can't.
I might or might not.
Because it's 2:00 my time, right? Because it's
Yeah.
midnight for y'all too. Me now, because I wake up at 5:30. So fuck that.
Yeah. Well, I get up at 4:30 to be out the door by 5:30. So yeah.
Let's put it this way: if we don't do it tonight, it'll be tomorrow. It'll be tomorrow evening. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Depending on if something comes up tonight and I can't do it, it'll end up being tomorrow evening. So
you work at 9. You said
9 in the morning.
Yeah, you can still watch. I can still talk about it.
I can still wing it
for like 5-6 hours. Yeah, you'll be fine.
Yeah, I can wing it.
Yeah.
Let's round out the show with our final topic, which is the Acolyte season finale. So we finally got to the end of the Acolyte series. I know that Phil's review, I think, is it up on?
I've been writing it while we're talking periodically.
The editing process is still occurring as we speak.
Yeah. I'm almost done with it. I'm just about done with it, but yeah, it's coming along. I tried writing it last night after I finished the episode, but I had a headache and I crashed really early, so I am making up for it right now. So
the episode aired last night at 6 p.m. Eastern time or Pacific time, 9 p.m. Anyway,
6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern.
9 Eastern. There you go.
8 o'clock Ryan's time.
And so I think that, you know, when it comes, the thing I liked about this episode was I actually felt like the dialogue was a bit better in this episode than it has been in others. I just felt like throughout the entire show, we spent a lot of time on what's the name of that planet? Brendok. We spent a lot of time on Brendok to the point where I'm like, oh my god, I'm just sick of being here.
Let's go to Tatooine, please. No.
Yeah, I'm surprised you go to Tatooine just for the hell of it, you know, pit stop. But no, so this episode, look, they sort of sum everything up, and you know, Soul finally gets a chance to tell, you know, his side of the story for the most part, which is essentially, you know, the previous episode was him telling the story, but I thought the fighting was good. I thought the choreography was good. Although the part where they floated down like it was, you know, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, I didn't really like that.
I didn't like it.
But it wasn't terrible. I just thought it was kind of like, oh, that's interesting. All right. But overall, the choreography, the back and forth fighting, I thought was good. But I feel like, never mind. I feel like it's just. I feel like we could have gotten to this point at a much faster rate with the story because I felt like it took a long time to fucking stab myself in the foot.
Oh, he's bleeding out.
I'm bleeding out. No, it's a wood floor. It's a wood floor in here. A big piece of wood just came out. I just stepped on it.
You are bleeding out.
I'm about to put carpet down here. Call me the ambulance. And And then of course we're talking spoilers here, so if you haven't seen the episode, this is your chance to kind of put it on mute. Don't tune out, just put us on mute and then come back later.
Had to.
And then the character, the little squirrel guy, who
Basil.
sniffs.
Yeah.
Basil.
Yeah.
When they first introduced him, I liked the character a lot. I thought it was a really cool character, cool design. By the time we got to this episode, I was so sick of that character. I was like, oh my God, okay, enough with the character. Like he was just constantly there, like, wah, wah. I was like, oh my God.
He's like always doing shit to Soul. Like,
yeah, he's always
that's
fucking with
her, get her. And like, okay, he's getting her. Let me stop that.
Yeah, he's like, she's an imposter, and then he's chasing her in the ship, which I thought was a cool looking scene when they flew into the rings of the planet. That was really cool. And then he's locked onto her. He's gonna fucking just kill her because he's got the ship like locked in. I was like, wait, is he gonna shoot her? What the fuck is he doing? Yeah. And then he's like, and he pulls the cords.
He's like,
and all.
Fuck you.
I thought when he did that, the ship was just gonna lose its targeting system, but the whole ship was like, whoa, just went sideways. I was like, oh shit! and then they both crashed the planet, and I think, and then like the whole sort of like love story between Quimir and Osha. I didn't really get it. It felt kind of forced, and I wasn't really feeling their relationship. However, I thought Quimir was the best character in this show. By the time we got to the end, his last episode, I actually thought he was the best character. He was better. I mean, Soul did it. Soul was a great character, but I thought his was better. I was like, dude, he acts more like a Jedi. He's calm. He's decisive. He's level-headed the entire time. He doesn't have these flip outs or bursts of emotion. He's always, kind of composed. And I was like, you know what? I actually like this character. And I almost feel like I wanted more of that character than what I got, because they spent a lot of time on the twins because that was the main point of the show. But Osha and May were two characters that I really, I don't know. I didn't like the way they were written. I didn't like the way they came across. I just didn't really like the characters at all. But Quimir, I thought, was actually a better character. And his portrayal of the character, Manny Jacinto, I thought he did a really good job. And so I thought his character was probably the best character. But overall, now the show is over, I don't think the finale is going to save the show. There were some things that I felt like they shouldn't even have done with this show. But overall, at the end of the day, I would give this show a 3 out of 10. Just because the overall execution, the writing, and some of the set designs and all that, it wasn't working for me. But there were things that I did like about it. Obviously, the lightsaber choreography I thought was really good. And there were some parts of the show that I really did enjoy. But overall, it wasn't enough to overcome the things that I thought that were wrong or bad with the show. Phil, what would your take on the last episode? And
you can shift it to Ryan. I'll go last.
Are you sure? Okay.
Well, let's go negative, positive, negative.
Well, we don't know what his.
I mean, I know he.
I wasn't trying to be super negative.
I didn't want to have
I was just being honest.
Andre go and then I go, and it's the same shit. Because I mean, I had problems with it, but whatever.
I'm still writing my review. That's why. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sure. I
no, make him go that way. When he's typing, he'll start typing what he's saying.
yeah. Well,
he's like, one thing I was thinking about is, oh shit, backspace,
backspace. So and they read the review. It has just click, click, click.
Yeah.
in the body. Judging how this is the final episode, and so we have a cumulative, look at the series itself. First season. Don't know if we're gonna get a season 2. Maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
But just judging the thing as a whole. For me, it's right there with Book of Boba Fett. I think that there are some really cool stuff. There's there's good things in it, and there's shit that just doesn't make any narrative sense. And I don't like some of the choices that they made. Just didn't make any sense. Same with Book of Boba Fett. There were some choices in there I didn't like that they made that didn't make any sense. The story that Osha and May being the same person or whatever just didn't make any sense. They're flip-flopping what their motives are. Neither one of them know what they want. And when you're writing a story, the story is you want to give, your characters a goal or a want or a need or something like that, something that they desire. And then they strive to that, and either they get that, what they want, or something shifted and they don't get what they want, or they have to modify what they want. And then that's the new goal due to a circumstance or something like that. May and Osha didn't really have it. May was the worst written of the Osha and May, if you want to say that. It felt like the writers cared more about Osha's story than May's story, because May was just weaker. And then the decision to memory wipe her, which is a new Jedi power that every Jedi should. Yeah, that would be very convenient for a lot of shit. That didn't do any, like, I still don't understand why they couldn't have left the planet with her. Like, okay, we're all fucking leaving. We're Sith, or we're this. Fuck the Jedi. Why do we need to leave you here?
Yeah, why did they memory wipe her and leave her there?
And
I must have missed it too.
Sense.
Yeah,
it made no sense to me, because they ended up fucking blaming everything on Soul, which was kind of stupid. Because I didn't like that. I was like, well, wait a minute, you're blaming everything on the Jedi, and you're covering up this event or whatever. And you're gonna go try to lie to Yoda, and Yoda can't sense that you're gonna lie. He's like, like conflict I sense in you. I mean, they don't sense things in this.
Like, to be fair, during Order 66, Yoda sensed all the Jedi being murdered. Now, you could argue that because there was so many of them being murdered, that's why it was probably such a strong sense. Right. But on Brendok, there was like what, 8 Jedi or 6 Jedi got fucking massacred by Quimir. I would imagine he would feel that, like, oh shit, I just lost a whole fucking group of Jedi. This is terrible. So that part to me didn't make any sense either.
Here's the thing, guys. That's not how the Force works.
Yeah. Okay. We've heard Han Solo.
I'm being 100% serious. The Force does not act like a beacon within Jedi that just constantly goes off every time something is wrong. It is something
and we're not saying
it's something you have to actually tap into. And in that instance, as far as Yoda sensing the Jedi, because Order 66 happened, he immediately tapped into the Force to sense what other Jedi were feeling. It's a completely different kind of context here. Just saying.
Right. And so when, like I said, with with the greenhead lady, going and talking to Yoda, I mean, if he doesn't sense that she's, full of shit, because
we haven't seen what he says yet. That's the thing.
I'm just saying she's going there because she's telling everybody that. She told the senators that, she's telling fucking May that, like, hey, this is what happened, no big deal. Your mom got killed. And that's the thing is, another thing with the Quimir thing is like, I'm going to memory wipe you until your age of 8. And it's like, wait, how could, that the memory wipe thing just still doesn't fucking make any sense.
I thought
that's actually canon. That's actually a canon thing.
Well, but
it still doesn't make any sense.
Well, I thought if you memory wiped her, then she'd be like, I don't know who I am. Like, I'm completely
and yeah, exactly.
But she remembered everything up to the point where
why would you
where we almost met her? Like the whole
and if that's the thing in canon, why wouldn't you do that? Like, why wouldn't they have done that to fucking Osha? Like, hey, yo, it's a memory wipe. That way you don't have to remember that your fucking mother died or some bullshit like that.
Well, I mean, I would think
and then there's no reason for any Jedi to be like, he's too old to begin the training, because then you can fucking just memory wipe the kids so that they don't have these fucking traumatic things in their backgrounds. If you're just gonna fucking memory wipe them, I mean, it's fucking convenient. It's the
memory wiping part. I felt like all of that whole scene. Obviously, it felt rushed because the Jedi were like on their way over there, so they were like, "Oh shit, we gotta go." But it just kind of felt like, I don't know. if you're gonna memory rep somebody, I felt like there should have been more to it other than just
tapping into the force.
boom. You know what I mean? Like one hand wipe and you're done. Like, oh, that's
Well,
it. That's all.
yeah, I
But
mean,
then again, it's a force, so I mean, he's using his ability.
sure, and just the same as the Sith Witch and all that, and all of them dying at once, and I thought that was weird. The bleeding of the lightsaber, I was like, wait, what? Isn't that supposed to be like when they do that, aren't they supposed to be focused on what they're fucking doing? Because if it's just like I'm holding the lightsaber and just because it senses the hate or whatever in me, it bleeds. Then when Vader grabbed Luke's lightsaber and ignited it, that shit would have fucking bled because he was there was conflict in him, but he was like, there is no conflict, blah blah blah, fuck you. It would have fucking turned red at that point. Or when fucking Anakin killed the kids, that shit would have bled then. Or just at any time that shit would have bled. But I mean, it was a cool effect. It was a cool effect to see in the show, and I was like, that's neat. But I was like, wait a minute, I thought it was something that was a little bit more like, you've got to want to do it or whatever. It felt like it was sort of like when she did it, it was like not a thing. Because like, how would she fucking know? She's never met Sith. She doesn't know Sith. She doesn't know that you can do that. How do you fucking learn how to force choke? I don't know. That whole scene, that whole transaction or interaction with Soul is like, fuck yeah, kill me, whatever. I was like, okay, cool.
I know, and I actually didn't want Soul to die. And when he died, I was kind of like,
look, with him
it.
not being
Like,
in the show anymore, there's no other character that I mean, Quimir now, but there's no other character that I actually care to see more of as far as like what they're gonna do with him.
But also Quimir too. I mean, he went from being this, this guy who's plotting, to have May kill all these Jedi and all this, or I should say, to help her kill all these Jedis that wronged her. And I thought the whole reason why was because he was trying to draw the Green Lady. What's her name, Phil?
Vernestra.
He was trying to draw Vernestra out so that he can confront her, which he kind of did this last episode, but he really didn't. He was staring at her.
Yeah. And then she was like,
looked up
wait a
and
minute.
gone.
And then he's gone. He's like, I'm gonna go find Ocean.
And I'm
May.
assuming because there was the prospect of a season 2, that's why they didn't have their confrontation. But I thought the whole thing was, you're learning about these characters, but the reason, like Quimir's motive was to draw her out and then confront her, and you would learn why she abandoned him from training him as a Jedi. But that didn't happen, and I guess he didn't come out because there were other Jedi there. But then he fought
he killed
6
all the other
Jedi.
Jedi.
He
And the
fucking,
Wookiee.
They were like mincemeat. He was kebabbing them like
Kebabbing,
So I was like, well, wait a minute. Like, you're powerful enough to kill that many. I thought he was gonna come down and be like, so we meet again. Like, oh, here it is.
For the first time, for the last time.
I wanted to see what the deal was with that. And because at this point, the two characters that if there was any connection to that I wanted to see more of, it would be Quimir and Soul. And spoiler alert, Soul dies.
Yeah,
he gets force choked, and I'm like, oh fuck. And it took so long that I thought maybe she was gonna let him go, but then he just died. I was like, fuck.
And then to have Darth Plagueis fucking have a reveal, like, it was just so like, so you've been just creeper, you're a creeper. Well, because like, this is the same spot that he was nude in front of her, like, hey, look at my wang, and she was like, I see it. And he's apparently somewhere in the fucking caverns, hiding.
I would imagine he's Quimir's new master.
I would imagine that's the new master. Yes. But I mean, again, you've got the power of 2, the power of many. You've got why is she sought out? Why does if it's a rule of 2, developed by Darth Bane, then Darth Plagueis would know that and say, okay, there's a fucking, it's only 2 of us, so what the fuck are we doing with this one? Like, why are we training this person up to fucking be your replacement, or what's going on? What's the thought process on
I
that?
thought his look of Darth Plagueis, I thought he looked really cool. I was like, dude, that looks badass. Like how he's in the shadow, but then I was kind of like, why is he hiding? And why is he, just like in a cave? Like
He's a vampire.
but like, even though his face kind of came out, I thought he looked hella cool. I was like, okay, there he is. Holy shit, that's cool. But then it was kind of like, well, okay, so now I have to trust the writers of the show to handle not only Yoda but also Darth Plagueis and possibly the connection to Palpatine. Like that's a lot, and that's a big meal to take on.
Yeah, and even at the beginning of the show, when like you were saying, hey, May took off, which I thought was a cool scene. She got out of her cuffs, or she jumped into that escape pod, or went down and got into the ship and took off or whatever, and she went into the rings, and I was like, why not just fly for Soul? Why not just, because it's a bigger ship? Why not just fly above it and just fucking angle your shit down? Like what are your sights only fucking one way? Like,
he's like, I got a follower in there.
Yeah, I mean, you could have flown just right above her, and I was like, that was a choice, because it was like, that doesn't make any sense. And then the little beaver guy, it made no fucking sense that he was like, there she is, she's not fucking May, get her, fucking stun her, and then well, fuck you, you're not gonna get her. I'm gonna unplug this shit so you can't do anything.
And like I said, when Soul had her locked in. Yeah, I was watching. I was like, "Was he gonna fucking shoot her? Was he doing?"
I don't think he was gonna like
oh, there she goes.
Up.
I don't know what he was gonna do, but I was like, "Why is he locked on?" I thought he was just gonna follow her. I thought he was just gonna follow her, but then
I thought he was gonna try to cripple her ship.
Maybe cripple the ship.
I didn't think he was like, okay, I'm gonna fucking kill this girl.
He had her locked in like Vader had Luke locked in A New Hope.
Like, what? You're all clear, kid.
Yeah. It's a scroll guy.
It's the scroll guy. But yeah, no, I mean, overall, the whole season just seems convoluted. Doesn't make a lot of fucking sense when you break it down. Just a lot of the motives that Ocean May had just don't make sense. They were the weakest part of the show for me. I thought every other character, the Jedis, Quimir, even the Green Lady, they all seem more interesting than May and Osha and their whole, whatever they're about.
Well, and on top of that, like a lot of the big reveals that they
did fall flat. They
fell flat because they telegraphed them. Like you knew, like, okay,
yeah. Because it took so long. Like
Soul took forever. The stranger.
Like Soul took forever to finally come out to fucking Osha. Like in every single and she and the character Osha made the best point of the fucking series was, if you didn't think it was a big fucking deal, then why didn't you tell the Jedi yourself a long time ago if you didn't think it was a big deal?
He was like this. He was like, Osha, I have to tell you. So, the power's back on. Let's go.
Yeah, power's back on. I gotta go. Yeah, exactly.
I was like, come on, just say the story. Nobody cares.
It was like, wait, what?
Get to it.
Oh, hold on, I got a call.
Yeah.
It's like,
I need to tell you the truth.
Something really important about your mother.
After I go to the bathroom, I'll be right back.
Yeah, after I go to the bathroom.
So and they did that like 3 times that episode too. I was like, oh my god, just say the story already. and then we get the whole thing in an episode. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Overall, I think the show had really, really big ambitions on what it was going to try to accomplish.
It did.
And I think there's a lot of things that the show did that I thought was really cool. But I think overall, the overall execution and the writing for me was not strong enough to make it a show where I want to watch it again. And not only that, but I think it just showed that there were, I don't know, for me at least, there was a level of detail and care that wasn't taken enough in the show. And that's just my take on it. Phil, do you want to go, or are you still writing?
Okay. Well, I happen to think this is one of the best Star Wars finale shows that they've done in a long time. I think this does a lot for hardcore fans who are very appreciative and know what the lore is for various different characters. Seeing Darth Plagueis was one of the coolest fucking confirmations of all time, because the twins' upbringing directly ties into his own machinations in regards to Palpatine as well.
Mm-hmm.
honest to God, like I think this is like one of the better finales they've done. Everything tied up pretty neatly with a few things left for a future season. It's trending pretty positively in terms of renew the Acolyte for a second season. I wouldn't doubt one bit it probably going to get a second season. Honestly, I think there are some execution issues. Like some of the dialogue was pretty clunky early on. Like the whole fight me shit in the very first episode was a little even later on, some dialogue delivery wasn't that great. But honestly, the technicality of the lightsaber dueling was fantastic. It's probably on par with Phantom Menace. I do think that it was kind of a bait and switch for Leslie Headland to be like, yeah, Yoda's not in this. And then they show him in the very last frame of the first season. I was like, that's... I think there was more precedence to show off Darth Plagueis than there was Yoda, because you could have very easily just had Vernestra say, I need to have a conversation with Master Yoda, or at the very least the High Council, because the ramifications of her pupil, which I'm assuming is Quimir, like that's a pretty big deal that she would want to bring to the council's attention, not so much the Senate's attention. Putting everything on Sol is very much a way of showcasing that the Jedi are not squeaky clean. And honestly, I think that's one of the biggest strengths of this show, is that it shows both the light side and the dark side aren't exactly as black and white as people want to assume or treat them like they are. Honestly, I do think that this show is one of the better ones. I would actually probably wind up watching it more over than Andor, simply because I do like.
Well, you didn't like Andor anyway.
It's not so much as I didn't like Andor. I think it's fine. I just think it's not for me. Like I'm not saying it was bad, but
in comparison to the shows that you did like, let's say like The Mandalorian.
Well, I'm also one that doesn't necessarily believe there's anything bad in Star Wars. I'm not one of those people. So I ultimately like I enjoyed the finale. I'm pretty hopeful for a second season. I think everything made sense if you're paying attention, but it very much like even seeing Sol get the Jedi Qui-Gon death of like being burned alive, that was really fucking cool. But again, like having Vernestra basically pull a Sol and Endara, like covering that story up to cover everything that they covered up, was like, okay, this is clearly going to be a blister that's only going to fester the further you fucking let it happen. And I think that's absolutely what's going to happen in a second season if they do get a second season. As far as mind wiping May, I feel like the reason they did that is because the ship that Osha and Quimir came in on only housed 2 people. So I don't know if you could fit a third person on that ship somehow. But even then, they said, like, Quimir was like, you know, if I can find you, they will. Like they weren't going to stop until they found at least one, if not both of them. So having May stay back as like a decoy of sorts, or maybe just like a kind of a ruse, and having her mind rubbed, that's, you know, I thought that was an interesting technique, because now you have the Jedi's just like, well, fuck, we got what we wanted, but we don't have exactly what we need. What the fuck are we going to do about it? But now that Vernestra is very much aware that her old Padawan, I'm assuming, again, Quimir is probably her old Padawan, is involved somehow, and she knows that there's something sinister behind his, you know, upbringing in terms of where he's at now, and he's the one who did all of this, more or less. She's going to want some kind of special assistance in regards to taking him out. And I feel like that's why she went to Master Yoda. But again, like, I feel like there is definitely more precedence to show off Darth Plagueis, because I feel like everything that happened with Osha and May, like their upbringing, the sisters being, you know, one, that's the thing. Leslie Headland said that the twins were essentially like guinea pigs, and in the way that like they're patient zero in terms of midi-chlorian manipulation. And when you look at Anakin Skywalker and his whole ordeal of being that, you know, that being that, oh, fuck, it finally happened. You look at Osha and May, like they're essentially patient zero of this. Like they were, I wouldn't say the first, but they're definitely like, you know, one of the first attempts at this. And instead of making one, they made 2, which is also why they're both inherently weaker than Anakin Skywalker as well. So
yeah, they're definitely not like
the
strongest beings out there. They're
definitely not. No.
Yeah,
but
they're
like,
heavily flawed, and they play into that.
Right. And honestly, I think, you know, props to Amandla Steinberg for doing double duty, having to play 2 different characters. I mean, you could argue that you know, both characters are kind of flat, I guess. I wouldn't say that, but I just really admire when an actor has to do double time. You know, you've got like Armie Hammer and the Winklevoss twins in Social Network.
Better example, yeah. No, it was
kinds of
really
stories.
good, really good. I mean, I to be honest with you, I didn't know Army Hammer, and I was like, holy shit, that's not twins. I was, back when I saw that, in theaters, I was like, that's really fucking good. I mean,
Or
they've
even
been
like,
doing-
or even like, as much as I'm not really a fan of the movie, like The Flash, if anything, like Ezra Miller had to do double time as young and older.
He did
Barry.
really
and
good.
he did great too.
I
Yeah,
thought,
they-
Very great performance, and you could definitely tell the two different personalities in those, those berries.
The thing is with these two, though, they are, as revealed, they were supposed to be one, and that I think is a question that is going to come into play in a second season if they get one. So I wonder if there's going to be some kind of force fuckery to merge them into one being, but I don't know.
I
have no
thought
idea.
maybe they were going to do that at the end of this season. Paolo Caesar writes, best way to sum up the okay.
Sorry.
Best way to sum up the Acolyte was from Jeremy Johns. This show is badass. It's bad. It's ass. And
I saw his review earlier.
That's nifty. I don't really pay that much attention to Jeremy Jans anymore, but good for him. If that's how he feels, that's how he feels.
yeah, I mean, look, the thing is that like if you like the show, you like the show.
If you like it, just same thing with Book of Boba Fett, dude. I didn't like that show. There are things that I did like in it, but for overall, it wasn't my bag, But if there are people out there that like the show and thought it was good storytelling and great Boba Fett, like that's where you would take the character and all that. And same thing with the sequel trilogy. If you like that shit, good for you, man. I'm glad you liked something. I didn't like the way the story went, so it wasn't for me.
Although the last few episodes, the last 3 episodes that had Luke Skywalker and Mandalorian in it, those are the best episodes of the Book of Boba Fett. I was like, whoa, this is badass.
Yeah, of course, no doubt, yeah.
And then his backstory too was cool. But
I did like that.
Like with the Acolyte, I thought that this episode I thought was better than probably. I thought this was probably the best episode that they put out yet. Because
I mean, this episode was kind of it. They kind of just summed it all up, and it was just like, if you could just watch one episode and kind of get a feel for the Acolyte, it would be just watch episode 8, and then you're good.
The senator that showed up, I forgot his name, but he's a good actor.
He's played by David Harwood. I was wondering when he was going to show up, and they saved him for the last episode. I was like,
his scene when he came in and had that dialogue,
gravitas
with her. I love that scene. I was like, I was watching it. I was like, I want more of this. This is like I loved the dynamic between the two of them. I loved the dialogue that they had with one another. I was like, I want more of this. Like, this was a good scene. I like that. And plus it had ramifications on the overall standing of the Jedi within the Senate. So I was like, yeah. It kind of gave me prequel vibes. I was like, yeah, you know what? I like that. Like, I want to see more of that. The one thing about Venestra was that I liked that she was of higher authority, and so there were bigger ramifications for the people and the things that she did in her life. However, still to this day, the fact that she's trying to cover up this whole thing, I would assume is because Quimir used to be her Padawan.
Well,
because she even says
the whip marks on his back from
her and she says,
whip.
"Oh my God, you're still alive." She senses that he's there. And they have that stare down when she looks over, he's gone. But my whole thing was that hey, look, so obviously you're covering this all up because one of the main reasons is that she's trying to cover it up because she doesn't want the Jedi to know that she probably abandoned her Padawan in a very bad way. Is she trying to cover her own ass, and that's why she's
corrupt? And that's all I can see from her. She's not a great performance, but because she was just weird. But you can tell that and there's something with the purple saber, I think, is it's supposed to say something about their personality or some shit now. That's new Disney, Star Wars, whatever. It's because she has a purple lightsaber, she is sort of back and forth because it's between blue and red. I don't know. I think that's what it is. And that's why, Mace had a purple one or whatever. I know the real reason why Mace had purple, because he fucking loves purple and he asked George, hey, can I have a purple lightsaber? But I think they tried to make that make sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's why, she has a purple sabers because, just like Mace, she's not all good or whatever. You know, there's shit about her that's like fucking dark, and there has to be if she whipped a kid with her fucking light whip.
Yeah. Well,
You
she
know,
had.
so-
There had to have been reasons, which we may or may never find out what they are.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I thought, okay, cool, I like that, was that when May and Osha were escaping, you know, they're like, "Come on, we got to go." They went to the same point at which they were standing on those two platforms, and they went straight down. And she took her into that access tunnel, and she's
Yeah.
like, "What is this?" She goes, "This is where I went when I fell." But my head, I was like, "I don't know how you got into the tunnel," but still, it was cool to see how she
Luke.
escaped. I was like, okay, and I like that it wasn't a flashback. It wasn't. It was just she was showing her how she escaped, and this is how they're going to escape as well. I was like, okay, that's good. I like that. You know, I like how they kind of intertwine that. That works. But at least for me, like a lot of it just kind of
Their fight
a lot of it was
choreography
kind of silly.
Was kind of like a dance more than a fight, you know. And I know that choreography is a dance, but you know, it felt like a dance. And the only part that I actually liked about it, there was only one little section, was when they both like crossed, you know, with their legs, they kicked, and then it went to the sabers. And I was like, oh, that's a cool transition. Nice editing.
That was great. Yeah, that was great editing.
I liked that. I thought that was cool.
Well, I like
but,
that,
but as far as like, you know, they're, you know, flipping and twirling and all that kind of stuff, it was just like, okay.
Well,
how many
I
times
thought
do we need to do
when
this?
Quimir broke it into two and then threw both of them at him, and then he had to do a force push to push all the two lightsabers and Quimir away from him. I thought that was cool. I was like, cool. I'm like, that probably would have been a lot more helpful in the last battle you guys had. But still, I was like, whatever. But no, I thought that was cool. The floating down part, I couldn't tell if it was supposed to be slow motion or was supposed to be.
No, I think it was supposed to be slow motion, because they also did slow motion when they were on the ground.
Yeah,
And
I
they were
wasn't sure.
twirling, and it was slow mo here and there, but it looked silly. Soul going backwards.
Yeah, it looked like they were on wires, you know.
Yes,
but then I was like, wait, is this supposed to be slow motion, or is it supposed to be there's them falling at that? I couldn't tell. So, but I was like, I don't know. I was like, kind of like, whatever. But then, like after that, when he breaks into two, he throws at him, he knocks it off, and then they were fighting. I thought that whole fight choreography was good. And the one thing that Quimir did that like nobody else seemed to really do very often in the show was that, boy, dude, anytime this motherfucker lost one, if not both of his lightsabers, he was like, he would just get him right back. You know what I mean? He used the force and bring it right back to him. And I was like, cool, I like that. That's what I would do as well. And then when who was it? When May showed up, and then took Soul's lightsaber and it went into her hand, and she's like, "No, that's it." You know, I was in my head. I was like, "Why doesn't he just grab it back? Like, give me that." I was like, "He's like, please, May, don't." You know, and then Osha gets the lightsaber, and then I'm like, "So you could take that lightsaber, use your force, and just." I mean, like Quimir he did it like 3 times. He's probably standing there like, and then that's the other thing too, is that like when Osha is confronting Soul and force chokes him, and then he dies, and there's a dialogue between Osha and May and all that. The whole time Quimir's just standing there, just like, and I'm just like, I'm wondering if Quimir's like, okay, so I was hoping to run into my old master, but I guess now I'm stuck with you two now. So yeah, he's like, okay, so he's dead now. I got you two. Okay, let's go. To me, I mean, I get what they were trying to do at the end with her being memory wiped, but I thought it'd been cooler if they both would have went with Quimir, and then so like they're off on their own.
If they're gonna have a second season, that's got to be part of what the whole dichotomy that you have the light side and the dark side. That's why she's wearing white and she's wearing dark, and they're gonna do it again. And I'm sure that if they did this, Osha and May are gonna fight again and do that and whatever. It's just it's always to keep them in some sort of conflict.
And I don't know why when they were hugging each other and they were saying those lines to one another, for some reason, I don't know why, I thought Osha was gonna be like, lightsaber May. I was like, wait, is that gonna happen? No way. And I was like,
if you're truly a dark side user or influenced by the dark side, then yeah, you wouldn't you'd
I
be
thought,
like, fuck you, I'm selfish, I'm jealous of your
yeah,
power.
I thought that was gonna
I-
be
you know,
like a plot twist, like, oh,
like
she fucking
fucking
killed her
like
sister.
fucking Highlander, there can be only one.
Yeah. But the other question I had too was that I wonder if when the witches made Osha and May, they talked about how she split into two, and so it makes me wonder if like by any chance like was Plagueis there in some way, and like as they were doing this, he was fucking with what they were doing, and he's the reason why it split into two. I don't know. But it was interesting that they even brought him in at the very end. Just that one shot of him. And it was like, oh. And I think, when you look at it in a whole, it made a lot more sense that he was there because obviously Quimir had to train from somebody. So that would make sense that he would have a master who was hiding on the planet and didn't want either one of the twins to see him.
Yeah, and it like you said earlier, it did kind of feel forced when they were both, staring off into the sunset, and Quimir grabbed her hand holding the saber or some shit, and I was like, okay, are they a thing now? Is this, I see your junk, so therefore we are a couple?
Well, but it's like it felt forced to me because she watched him kill people that she absolutely thought of as friends.
Well, yeah, just like X-23, she knew that he killed her, and they had this like really good connection on Coruscant.
Well,
and then it's like
the other guy too. What was his name?
No, you're not talking about the other guy. The
guy who got his neck
goober.
snapped.
Yeah, not that. She
Yord.
didn't
His
about
name is
him.
Yord.
Yord, care about him. She
but they
fucking
were
dissed him like, I
know, but they were friends. Like they were in
Not
the
really.
academy together.
They weren't
Remember
friends.
when she first saw him? She was
She
like,
didn't-
"Yord, what's going
She
on?"
had no
you know?
respect for that dude.
She didn't. But still, I mean, she watched him do some pretty horrific things, and
she was like, "Yeah, no, you're my man. You're my dude."
I felt like she kind of fell for him a little too easy. And maybe that's just me, but I felt like that happened a little too quickly and a little too easy. And I was kind of like, not to say that she's easy. I'm not trying to say that. But what I'm saying is that like she fell for him. It didn't take much for her to fall for him.
Well, yeah, and considering the circumstances, it was like, what sort of person or what sort of standard do you have? Because she wasn't dark side or anything, she wasn't like full-fledged fucking I'm bleeding every lightsaber I touch. At the time when she was like actually looking at him and like, I like that, I like me some Quimir. May didn't know what she had.
I know. May, you passed up on this.
You passed up on this guy.
That was your fault there. But like I said, at the end of the day, I thought Quimir was the best character out of all of them. He was the only one that I felt was the most consistent in that, like, he portrayed the character in the most consistent way throughout the entire show. I mean, him jumping in the water and getting butt naked, I mean, it is what it is. But for the most part, his character always was calm, always was level-headed, always kind of knew what he wanted to do, always had a plan. But like I said, always was composed. You never saw Quimir like, no, stop. He was just like, he was always composed.
Well, he did act like an idiot when he got, trapped, but that was an act.
That was an act. Yeah, I can't blame him for that. It was an act.
Yeah, but I was like,
just like Yoda was an act when when you first met him on Dagobah. Yoda, you seek Yoda. He was trying to be stupid. But we'll see what happens, and we'll see if it gets to season 2. So we'll see.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
So that kind of wraps up all the topics we have for today. I know we did talk a little bit about, we mentioned this a little bit, the Hall of Justice and Superman movie. There is a location that they're using.
A train station?
I think it's like a train station. It looks just like the Hall of Justice. I was like,
really? I was like, I thought it was a set, but then
that was a real building. I was like,
because I didn't understand why they were filming the movie there, in Cincinnati. I was like, why would you? Most people go to like Chicago or New York or whatever for a metropolis, because those are metropolises and metropoli. And and then I was like, oh wow, they shot here. I was like, is that a set? And then come to find out it's like an old train station or something. And I thought that was pretty cool. So yeah, that was neat.
Yeah. So we'll see how that movie turns out. Still got a long way to go on Superman. So we'll kind of see how that plays out. But guys, that's gonna do it for the show. I want to thank everyone who came out here today. I want to thank Phil. I want to thank Ryan. And most of all, I want to thank myself for being here. Come on. And Dawson was sorely missed. And as he was not here today, we do have word that he was hunting
He's out
for
fishing.
land sharks. He's
out
land
fishing.
sharks.
He was shocking.
This is where you can find us. Although Phil is only on Threads and Instagram. But everybody else, you can find us on Twitter, now called X, and then obviously Dawson on TikTok. What?
You got a super chat.
Oh, we do?
Yes.
Whoa.
Yes,
Connor Dorian with the $5 super chat says, what do you think of episode 5 of House of the Dragon? I'll let Phil answer that question because I haven't seen the newest episode of House of the Dragon. I was away out of town, and so I fell behind. What?
Hold on. You got to do the thing.
Hold
on.
Yeah.
Wait. I don't see it.
Got to do the thing.
You got to do the thing.
You got to do the thing.
I'm trying to find it. I don't see
There we go.
Okay.
I know. I was like, here, I'll do it for you. How about that? Phil, what did you think of episode 5 of House of the Dragon? I'm hoping to catch up tonight.
It was good. I mean, it was definitely exposition driven, as some Game of Thrones episodes tend to be. I mean, it wasn't terrible. There were some choices that I kind of raised an eyebrow at, but other than that, you know, it moves the board. It moves characters on the board in a specific way. It moves the story forward a little bit. Ultimately, it was good. It was fine. Like I don't really have any big qualms with it. There's one thing that happened with Daemon where I just kind of went, all right, that's certainly a choice. But other than that, like it was, without spoiling anything, like it was cool. Like it was a fine episode. I didn't have any real issues with it, but I wasn't exactly like, you know, blown the fuck away like I have been with other episodes.
Right. Well,
So,
there
yeah,
you go.
That's my 2 cents on the Game of Thrones.
All right. So, guys, if you haven't done so yet, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. It's free to subscribe, and we're almost to. Are we almost at 20,000? I think we almost are. So definitely subscribe to the channel. Become a member to help support the channel, or at the same time, also subscribe to all 3 of our channels as well. Which my channel is Nicotina. You have Phil's channel. What's your channel called again?
It's
Phil
just unfiltered. It's just
I
unfiltered.
thought I had another. I thought I had a different name to it.
Nope. The one
Maybe
that's
what-
the one that it's streaming to now is just my channel, just unfiltered.
Oh, it's. I was thinking. I think on the channel it says something.
No,
Maybe it doesn't.
unfiltered.
I don't know.
That's what it shows here.
Unfiltered, and then obviously Zever. Is it Zever Comics channel?
Zever Comics now. Yeah.
Yeah, Zever Comics. So check out Zever Comics on YouTube. Subscribe to all of our channels. Become members of our channels if those memberships are available.
Hey, what's up, bro?
Oh, Dwayne's back!
Came in clutch.
I need to watch that. I still need to watch that Crisis Part 3.
I haven't seen
Hey,
any
this
of them.
is
I
for
wanna
you,
watch
Dwayne. Just because we haven't seen you all day, this is for you. I need to see all 3 of them. I haven't seen
seen them.
1 and
Part
2 are on
two
Max.
either.
1 and 2 are
Are
on
they?
Max. Yeah, they are.
Axel Droga, take it for what it's worth. He told me that part 1 and part 2 were not very good. I've also heard that around, but I don't know. I haven't seen it yet.
I haven't
Part
seen
1's
everyone.
better than Part 2.
Really?
Part 1 is better than Part 2.
Oh,
Yeah, I'll say
that's
that.
brutal.
I don't know how Part 3 ends, but
Mm.
yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Yeah, I'm
All
excited. I'm curious about Part 3. I don't know if I'm excited. There is one element to it that I'm looking forward to, but other than that, I don't know. We'll see what happens.
There's one element that I saw on like somebody posted a video of it, and I was just like, yeah, that's really cool. I like that. So
Mm.
it's something to do with Batman. So I was like, oh wow, pretty fucking cool. But all right, guys,
Yeah,
we
he
will
has huge thighs.
huge thighs, buffalo thighs.
Buffalo.
But yeah, guys, subscribe to all of our channels. Subscribe to this channel and become a member of this channel to help support the channel.
Yeah.
And we will see you guys next week for an all new episode of the 4 Nerds.
Later.
This is 3 Nerds of the 4 signing off.